in, so give everyone just a moment. Woo! All right. You came in earlier on time. You got the benefit of a power rock ballad. We did a little Van Halen to anchor ourselves in this moment. Right now is a destiny moment. You being here today with us today and tomorrow for Write a Book That Starts a Movement is a destiny moment. So put destiny in the chat if you can feel that. You feel something building in you. You feel an urgency. You know that there is this book in you, or maybe your book is already, formed and it's like there's a movement you're here to lead with this book and you feel the energy of it growing. Yes, so this is a destiny moment. We're going to have a destiny experience this week. I'm Sarah Cannell. If I haven't had the pleasure of working with you before or meeting you before, I'm so honored that you're here with us. You'll hear more about me as we go through the week. We've got Amy Fortney here. She's our chief book strategist and runs operations here. We've got Michelle here running all of our tech and systems for us, keeping us on track. So grateful to be here. You've got our whole team with you this week to take a big leap forward. Right? This is a workshop, not a, movie theater. Amy likes to say we bring popcorn and we're going to watch, we're going to do stuff. Okay. Thank God it's not 2 days of just me talking. That would be, that would be a lot. So we're going to be working together. We're going to be collaborating. We're going to be ideally doing more in these 2 days on your book and your movement than you would in 3 months otherwise. Are you up for that? I want to hear yes in the chat if you're up for making this one of those weeks that changes things, right? And what's so cool about doing this in April is we're really just getting into the second quarter of the year. And so everything is still on the table for 2026. Everything is still on the table for 2026. Anything that you've set out to do is completely still possible in 2026. Starting your book, finishing your book, publishing your book, leading a movement with your book, monetizing your book, like everything is still on the table for you in 2026. That's exciting. And it's the perfect time when a lot of people default into just being reactionary instead of vision led, right? And you're here because you lead from vision. Great leaders lead from vision. Not do I feel like it? Do I think I can? Is the world going to hell? Is the world awesome? Like whatever it is, that's not where we lead from, because the world needs, as we'll see and talk about today and tomorrow, leaders who will take a stand and lift the people you're here to serve out of the fear, out of the overwhelm, out of the stress, out of the defeat energy that is so understandable and legitimate, right? We're not playing in that. So I'm so excited. There are over 800 of us doing this workshop this week. We have those of you here on Zoom who are doing it live in the room with me, with Amy, with Michelle. We're so excited. And all of you from around the world in multiple continents, many different countries who are working on their books this week. So you are, right now, we are a movement. Like this group right here. And if anyone has not trained with me before, you will learn now that one of my favorite quotes that calls me forth every single day, and I'm going to paraphrase it, Margaret Mead, who says, how could a small group of committed citizens change the world? But indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And we are a group of committed citizens who are here to change the world in the unique ways. And we're going to explore those and learn about those from each other and with each other. Which movement are you here to lead, right? You already know, but we're going to be working together and doing this powerfully. Okay. So I am going to use visuals, because I like to look at things. I learn by seeing and by hearing. So we're going to be doing that. And we're going to go through this experience today with interactive time. We're going to be, I'm going to be asking you questions and asking for participation in the chat so that we keep ourselves focused, awake, alert, empowered, because we've got 2 days to cover a lot of territory. Okay, a whole lot of territory. So I know you wouldn't be signing up for this. You wouldn't be here and giving us the honor of your presence if you weren't serious about doing something really big this year. And so I honor you for that. That's exciting when a lot of people will just be consumers, not creators, understandably for good reason, but that's not what the world needs right now. All right. So we ready to rock? Put rock in the chat since we started with some some old school Van Halen rock today. Let me hear if you're ready to rock, and I'm going to pull up our visuals so that you can see along with hearing all the good stuff that we're going to do. All right. So here we go. And let me give it a minute to load, and then I'll just ask those of you who are on camera if you could get me a thumbs up if you can see that we are here for Books That Start Movements 2026. Okay. We're not just talking about writing a book, we're talking about a book that's going to start a movement. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Again, Sarah Cannell, if I haven't met you before, I am working on my seventh book right now. This is even outdated. I have six bestsellers and another one on the way. I'm like a, mom who keeps having kids. I keep writing books. And I am the founder of Thought Leader Media, where we have all kinds of incredible programs to help leaders like you not only write their books, but go on to lead and start movements, which is what we're doing this week. Specifically, we do that through our 90-day bestseller program, where you get to work with our team to write your book in 90 days, up to 6 months. We can accordion that depending on your schedule and the world. And then we have our Monetize Your Book Club, which is how we get the ROI on our books. And we're going to talk a lot about that both today and tomorrow, because if you're going to spend the time and the investment and everything to do a book, you want to know, at least I want selfishly for you to know that that's not going to just be a souvenir on your shelf, but that's going to create impact and income for you for the rest of your life. So just put resonate in the chat if that resonates with you. You like the idea of getting your book, those of you that aren't finished, having a book finished in around 3 months, up to 6 months, and that you want to know that you're going to be able to let that book change lives and change your life and bring you both financial and legacy return on that investment. Okay, so that's kind of how we do things here. We're a brain science based coaching company, which is sort of unusual. Why are we talking about neuroscience when we're writing books and being thought leaders? But there are many, many reasons, as you'll see as we go through, both internally to deal with the gremlins, the inner critic that can come up when we're doing book writing and thought leadership, but also because we want to create transformational work, not just informational or even inspirational, right? We can get inspired, but nothing changes. And so we're here to create, especially if you're leading a movement, that's about transformation, right? So it's super exciting. All right. Our model here is about write, speak, scale. So we're working on this week, we're talking about writing your book that starts a movement. And then we can look at ways, however you like to do it, that are exciting to you about speaking, whether that's on podcasts, in the media, on conferences in person, on virtual, guest speaking opportunities, and then scaling both your impact and your revenue, as we said. All right. So what we're really up to, we've got a big agenda. All right. So I know you're here for it. You're going to do this with us. All right. We're going to hone your book concept. Those of you that aren't sure, you maybe have just an idea. You want to do a book. You don't really know what book it would be, what it's going to be about. We're going to hone that book concept. Those of you that are already well into a project, we're going to make sure that that is set up as a bestseller, as a book that's going to make an impact, lead a movement. We're going to create your outline and words on the page and learn techniques tomorrow that are going to help the writing be riveting, even if you're not a writer. 90% of the people that we work with in our 90-day bestseller in our club do not consider themselves writers. They are experts and strategists and practitioners and leaders and artists and parents and community activists and financial, experts and all different people that know that the book, for all the reasons we'll discuss, is crucial to where they want to go next. And so we're going to give you the skills so you don't have to spend 5 years in a master's program like I did, and you can just get these books to sing on the page. We're going to explore your 6-figure or more revenue stream with your book. That's back to that ROI, and you'll leave with a plan to finish your book in the next 90 days. All right, so put good if that sounds good. In the next 2 days, that's what we're up to. Can we do it? Yes, we have, and we will. We have done it before, and we will do it now. Okay, awesome. All right. Just so everyone knows, if you want to have more customized support and have ongoing access to the replays, get a workbook, get the AI prompts we're going to share this week, and have live coaching with me today and tomorrow, you can add our VIP session, which happens immediately following today and tomorrow's session for an hour, plus all the ongoing replays, workbook, AI prompts. If you want that, you can upgrade to that at any time and join us. The link's in the chat if you're not already planning on joining us, because sometimes you'll hear things like, I want to ask, more detailed question. Sarah, I want you to help me, kind of figure out this piece of my outline. And so please do join us in VIP so that we can support you in a more customized way. All right. And this is the foundational curriculum. What you're going to do today and tomorrow is our, this is just not only in the VIP room what we do, but people that want to continue on with us. This is the foundational curriculum for our 90-day bestseller and monetize your book club. So if you are one of the people that already put in a pre-application, we have spots for 10 people after this workshop to continue on with us, to have our editing team, our strategy, our entire team working with you if you know you are all in and going to write your book and start your movement this year. And so some of you already sent those in. We'll provide the application link later. I can answer any questions about that. But those of you that came specifically for this, just know that we have received your applications. We will share the link. Any one of you who does this workshop gets to be eligible to work with us in this program, because this is the foundational work that we need to do to get you ready to do that. So really excited for you to join us or fill out an application if you're even curious about joining us. All right, let's get into it. The state of the world right now. We don't need to spend a lot of time here because you all know, you live it every day. There are leadership breaches, there's war, there's economic contraction, and there's this AI explosion that either can make people obsessed, like I'm going to have 80 AI bots working for me around the clock, or just feel sick to their stomach because they feel that the world as they know it and what they do in the world is going to become obsolete because of machines, right? And so I just, who just put feel it if you can feel this, right? You can feel with great compassion and love for yourself and what people that you're here to serve and lead in your movement are feeling. They're feeling a lot of feels. They're feeling a lot of feelings. Yeah. And Michelle, if you'll just drop the application link in the chat for the people that messaged, that just DM'd and said they want it. You guys can fill that out on the break. It takes 2 minutes. It's very short. Okay. So we feel it, and we're going to generate so much love for ourselves and the world through this work this week that we are going to be able to like punch through and crack through all of that nervousness and fear and anxiety and overwhelm, because we are going to lift people out of it and make the vision that you offer them bigger than their fear. And we start, of course, by doing that for ourselves. Yeah. Okay. We also know right now, we continue since 2024, the average adult attention span is 2.9 seconds. And that is a real thing to contend with if we're leading a movement, because we've got 2.9 seconds to have someone understand our movement and what it is and why it's going to help them. Many people are walking around with deregulated nervous systems. We have a 94%, according to most recent research, mistrust rate of leaders, marketing, advertising, programs, anything. And there's this fear of the future, right? Yeah. But here's what's so awesome. And those of you that came to our preview workshop or our session last week, this is exactly the conditions that create the biggest innovations, the most massive creative breakthroughs, and that make the space for the leaders that will change not just this generation, but leave a legacy for long after we're gone. These are creativity breeds in chaos, right? And so thank God we're here going to create something out of it. To change the world right now in 2026, in a world like this, we need to lead a movement. So those of you that came to our preview session last week, we talked a lot about this. We got to lead a movement, right? Remember, swing ourselves and others from fear into a vision and create that change. Okay, in 2026, the leaders who will sell books and lead movements and prosper and transform others are leaders who are real. Okay, so you're not sending a bot. Right now, I am a real human. I feel like I'm gonna get a seal up here that says, I am real. This is not a bot of me. This is me. You're gonna see my, hair doing something weird or my, stumbling over my talk when something I say fumbles out of my mouth. Real humans. Okay, so I wanna hear real in the chat. If we're excited that we are actually all here, we are real, okay? 800 of us around the world doing this work this week. We are real, okay? Real. I'm looking for real. When I get something someone sent to me that was just written by Michelle, I'm not interested, right? If that's something I'm thinking of investing in. People that provide real value, my intention is you receive incredible value over the next 2 days, and that are willing to stand in their values. And one of my values is actual relationship and human connection, right? Developing, that's my movement right now. Does everyone else race to develop AI, which we will use and we will, it has its place, but we will be developing the frontier of thought leadership, of human intelligence, tapping into our divine intelligence, our higher intelligence, right? So that's a value that I have, right? So we're providing value and we're standing and sharing our values so that people, number 3, can be in relationship with us, understand that this is the movement they want to join. And that we create leaders in 2026 who will be successful best-selling authors and thought leaders are going to really pay attention to their energy. You can call it frequency. You can call it mindset. You can call it whatever you want it, but it means that there is a beating heart and soul in what you create, whether it's an email, a social media post, a book. Okay? That there's a beating heart so that people can feel heart to heart, soul to soul. Okay, so this is what's going to be the separator, because the prediction is something hideous. Like by the end of this year, 60% of anything we see online will just be fake. It'll just be machines, and we often won't be able to tell the difference. I think we're all going to be able to tell the difference. Look, we already know the AI ghostwriter. Don't even get me started, right? The way that ChatGPT like writes things, we're going to know. We're going to know. All right. Let's talk about some other things, which is really great news for those of you here that are committed to this. Yeah, and Michelle, will you just send the replay from last week for anyone that wants? We could just we could send it out today, Pauline. You don't need it for today. Don't worry. It was just kind of we were just excited to get this conversation started. So you'll get everything you need as we go through today and tomorrow. But in the last 12 months, published authors are generating 3 times more inbound leads, speaking requests, and business opportunities than people that don't have a book. Okay, so this is really good news for those of you that have a book or are here to write your book. And 71% of buyers said that thought leadership was the most effective thing in their decision making versus conventional marketing. Okay, so just put in the chat if that sparks anything for you. You could put 3x if you like the idea of having 3 times more people wanting to work with you, 3 more speaking requests, 3 times as many business opportunities. If that sounds good to you, that's just really just affirming your wise, choice of dedicating time to this right now. Okay. And I'm not going to read all this, but just know that books are exploding right now. Why? Because even though some people try to pass off, fully written AI books as books, we all know what AI sounds like now. And so people are looking to trust, because they don't trust ads and regular marketing. They want to get to know you in a book. They can trust you in a safe space, not interacting yet. Let's see if this person knows their stuff, if they've got what I need. Is this a trusted expert? Okay. So audiobook sales, print book sales, exploding and expected to keep exploding to the many, many, many billions of dollars. Okay, why do books work? If we only have a 2.9-second attention span, how can books work? Your book is your flag in the ground. And even though adults have a 2.9-second attention span, the human brain in 1.8 seconds can process your book cover, can understand the movement you lead, your name, the topic, maybe it has a photo of you, maybe it doesn't. But in 1.8 seconds, that flag in the ground is planted and someone clicks in, and you will earn the next 2.9 seconds of attention. That's why people do books. It's that fast. It's not just that someone sees something in 1.8 seconds. They ascribe credibility, authority, expertise, trust, and then they'll read the book to see, okay, does this follow through? Is that the real deal? Okay, that's why all the big name people keep writing books, even though they're already household names. They could just throw up a social media post or do a podcast, but they do books to give people top of mind awareness. Okay. This is a review for those of you that have trained with me before. And if you're new to training with us, this is what you want to keep aware of. Your book is going to allow you to have massive top of mind awareness, which is crucial in a 2.9-second attention span world. Okay. You get that flag in the ground with your book cover, that movement recognition. But then your book is going to give you, yes, the authority, credibility, and visibility, but it's going to move you toward that ZMOT, zero moment of truth, where people need 7 or more hours of interactive time with you, and they need at least 11 calls to action, and they need to see you 4 different places. So your book, they'll see it on Amazon, and they'll see a social media post about it, and they'll hear you on a podcast, and they might see your website, whatever it is, in the bookstore. Yeah. Yeah, Pauline, we want to know if someone resonates with us, right? So this is what your book is helping you do. And it gets you on all the shows and all the podcasts and all the media things and all that. So all of a sudden you're omnipresent. And that's why Oprah and Mel Robbins and Gabby Bernstein and Eckhart Tolle and everyone keeps doing them. Okay. And your book as a movement creates an ecosystem. Right? So again, those of you that came to the preview last week, we talked about this. Atomic Habits by James Clear wasn't just a book alone. It's his 25K speaking credential. It's his get on all the podcasts, starting his own podcast, having a course. Okay, it becomes an entire ego. And that's how it's a movement. If he just wrote the book, but no, you can go in the Atomic Habits Academy and you can go hear James Clear speak and you can see him on Mel Robbins and whatever it is, right? So it creates your ecosystem. All right. So put E in the chat if that excites you. You want to have an ecosystem around your book. That's part of the way you're leading the movement. People are able to interact with the work and actually do the work and get a transformation in a really significant way, right? Okay. Yes. Right. And just those of you that, again, I haven't met before, the power of a book is not to be underestimated. It's just so present with me every single day because 20-something years ago, I was working at a very abusive, toxic corporate job. I was spiraling into a life-threatening eating disorder. My mental health, my physical health was crumbling. I felt like I was dying when I went to that job every day. And I found a random book called Holy Hunger in the airport bookstore at Boston's Logan Airport, and I read the whole book in one night. And by the time I finished, I was done. I said, even if I end up on the street, I'm going to leave this job. I am going to get help for my physical and mental health, and I am going to pay this gift forward by making sure I write a book that can be in the airport bookstore on the day that someone is spiraling the drain. That book saved my life. There have been many books that have changed the course of my life. And that already is a movement, right? That's a movement. I haven't even met Margaret Bullitt Jonas. She's not super famous. She's a person who sat down and worked through all the stuff of, I don't have enough time, I don't have money, I'm too old, all the fears that we all have, some versions of those fears. And she wrote it anyway. And you're here because that's the torch. You're going to be that book for somebody. Probably thousands and thousands and thousands of somebody's. So the movement starts inside ourselves of understanding the deep service we are providing when we take the time to do what you're here doing. And then it starts to move one person and more people and more people, more people, more people. Yeah, Deb. It makes me cry because if she hadn't written that book, I might not be here. I mean, it's just that clear, right? And we don't have to be like ultra serious and dramatic about anything. It doesn't always have to be. We can entertain, we can uplift. But I bet, how many of you had a book change your life? Doesn't have to be save your life, but like how many, just put change. If there is a book that changed you learned something, you had a shift, you had an aha, you got a health suggestion, you were able to make more money, you're able to be a better parent, a better partner, a better leader, a better business person, you or something changed in you. You learned about someone else's culture because someone wrote, a book, and you had more understanding and awareness. Yeah, books change lives. And they open up every door. Everything that has happened for me since then, Oprah and the New York Times and, all the TV stations and TEDx and all the things started because of writing the first book. So whether you're on your first book or your seventh book like me or anything in between, it opens the doors, right? And that's where we're going to go next, because before we put together your book, we want to know what doors you want your book to open. Right? What doors do you want your book to open? These are the doors that our clients that we've worked with, a 90-day bestseller and Monetize Your Book Club, are, opening their doors to being visible, to changing lives. All right. So you get to decide now which doors you want your book to open. A lot of you have done pre-work on this. And so I'm going to just read these out. These are the doors that many people work with, that I work with, that the doors I have wanted the books to open. I believe our books can open all of these doors or any of these doors that you want them to. And so I want you to look at this list. I'm going to read it. And I want you to claim the doors that you want your book to open so that you're clear as we go through the rest of the curriculum today and tomorrow, that you know which doors you want the book to open. And you're clear, because it's going to depend what you put in that book. We need to have this in mind. So do you want to speak and get paid to speak? Do you want to be a guest expert in the media, being a topic expert, reaching people that way? Attracting ideal clients, increasing revenue, having joint ventures and partnerships, be seen as an industry leader, transform lives, and leave a legacy. And a totally acceptable answer is all of the above. Yes, 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 Marisa. Okay. So if you're in all of the above, claim it for yourself, right? Claim it for yourself right now. You're like, these are the doors I am committed to this book opening. Yeah. And I love that I'm seeing so many alls, because a book that starts a movement will open all these doors. That's exactly what it'll do. Okay, awesome. And no comparison. You might be like, the only door I care about. I've had people call me and say, Sarah, I want to speak. And everyone keeps telling me they'll let me speak when I have a book. So help me do a book, right? That's totally cool. You don't have to care about all of them. Yeah, I love it. If you want them all, own it. If you want one, own it. Okay, I love it. I love it. Yeah, some of you have a couple of doors. Beautiful. And they lead to each other, Pauline. Exactly. Okay. So just want everyone to really like anchor this, because the tragedy is people have come to me. I've been doing this for 20 years. People come to me and they're in tears because they didn't write the book that was going to get them the outcomes. It can happen if we're not clear from the get-go. That's why we start with this. Okay. Your first step to becoming a best-selling author is deciding. That's the first step. Okay. This is the neuroscience piece. Your decisions determine your destiny. So I'm just going to invite you, and I don't want you to do it just because, but I want you to take a breath, close your eyes, and just feel into your heart if this is a decision you are truly prepared to make and committed to make. Wherever you are in the process, vague idea all the way through a finished book, are you committed to being a movement leading best-selling author? And if yes, you can write decide. Just let yourself take that moment to make that contract with yourself, with life, with the universe. Yes. This is so awesome. Okay. I love it. And you might be here to see if you want to decide that, right? That's cool too. But whenever you do decide now or as we go through this, like, let us witness you, right? It's powerful. Our subconscious mind and our nervous system are always eavesdropping. Okay. So they're eavesdropping. What is she saying? What's he saying? What are they saying? Right? And you're saying, yeah, I'm deciding to go all the way with this. Okay. Decisions determine our destiny. So we're taking the leap. All right. Now, how many of you, have more than one idea, and part of why you haven't written your book yet is you have a lot of ideas and you don't know exactly what book you're writing, and you don't have like a completely clear idea of that. So if that's you, just celebrate that, because most visionary geniuses have many, many, many books. I have at least 4 I want to write right now. I just finished one that comes out in October. I felt like I ran an Ironman and trained for an Ironman, and I'm already like, I have 4 more ideas. Okay. So, so own it if you have many ideas. That's beautiful. What we're going to help you do right this minute is decide on the one that you're going to move forward with. Okay. Yes, Stacy, you know which book you're writing now, but you want to make notes for 2 others. I love that. Exactly. I'm already like, I'm in full, we're going into pre-launch mode for my new book, but I'm still already like a little bit, I got some ideas. Okay. So those of you that don't have one singular idea, okay, what I want you to do is take 2 minutes and just give yourself, we're going to call this is called the whiteboard. You can get a piece of paper, you can type this out, you can do it however you want. And I want you just to just make a list of all the ideas you have. Just put all, and I don't mean write a big description. It's just a novel about, my grandmother's, life in Alabama in the, 40s. Book about my business, astrology book about fill in the blank. Okay. You're just going to give yourself like a little marker for each idea you have. If you already have your book completely finished, completely done, or you know exactly what book I want you to close your eyes and just visualize all those doors opening with your book. Okay. So we're going to take 2 minutes. You're either visualizing because your book is set, or you are letting yourself get all your ideas finally out somewhere where you can see them. If you've just joined us, we're writing all the book ideas you're considering so I can help you narrow it down to the one that's going to start your movement. And just take deep breaths and just let these ideas finally have a place to come out of your head and just be seen on your page or your screen. Okay. And then those of you that had more than one idea, put the number of how many ideas you're working with in the chat. So if you have 3 ideas, 5 ideas, 2 ideas, 10 ideas. Yeah, some of you have an already completed book manuscript, right? So you're just visualizing those doors opening because you're clear. Okay, great. So you've all beautiful range, beautiful range. Okay, now let's narrow that down. Okay, I want you to eliminate any that are shoulds. Anything that everyone says I should write a book about my time in, Yosemite, and you're like this about it. Okay, if there's anything on there that does not light you up, just with love, just exit out. Okay. And now I want you to think about your number one priority for this year. So, is your number one priority like creativity, right? Or is your number one priority revenue generation? Is your number one, this is not about your book now. This is just your number one priority in your vocational life. Is it about, educating people around an issue? Is it around, really scaling your business? What is your top priority right now? I want you to get that really locked in and clear. Revenue and speaking, educating around an issue. Yep, starting a movement, visibility. Great. And now what you're going to do, once you have your number one priority and you've got the honed down list, no should books, right? You're going to write a book you're excited and passionate about. I want you to see which of your book ideas, if you had more than one, most directly aligns with your number one priority for the year. And those of you that have a book already, you were completely set on your one idea. I want you to make sure that the book you chose aligns with your number one priority for the year. Yeah, Elena, you've got an offer for the new book. You're figuring out what are all the pieces in your ecosystem, right? Congratulations. That is so great. Okay. So I want you to see, does that bring you down to one? Okay, so put a one in the chat if you either already had or now, based on doing this, have your front runner idea. You've got an idea that is going to be the book that most directly you're passionate about it. It's not a should, and it most directly aligns with your number one priority for the year. Okay. And that's how you know this is your front runner. Okay, beautiful. So, and if you're not sure still, just stick with us and you'll get clear. All right. Make sure if you're, just get in the VIP room. If you still need to ask me, I'll help you. No one will leave without not having their idea. Okay. Awesome. All right. Now, what do we do? Great. We have our priority. We have an aligned topic. What do we do next? So this is a Venn diagram I created a number of years ago that helps me with every book I write. Okay. I have my seventh book coming out in the fall, and I use this every single time. And I've used it with all the clients that we've worked with. Okay. So we're going to go through these three components that land your book in the bestseller zone. Bestseller is simply volume of books sold. And how do we get a lot of people to be excited and share about and recommend and pick it for the book clubs and need to talk about it and tell everyone they have to read it and all those things? How do we do that? It's usually almost always, if not always, because the book has done these three things. Okay. So I want you to look at the top right circle first, your passion and expertise. We did a little passion check on the whiteboard, but now we're going to really hone in is the book idea you're considering, does it include your great passion and expertise? You're kind of obsessed with it. You have experience, either personal or professional, with it. Okay, so let's just do the check of circle number one, right? Your passion and expertise are at the core of this book. And expertise can again be your lived experience or can be what you've done professionally. Okay. And then we're going to look at how your book helps readers solve a challenge or achieve a dream. Now, whether you're writing fiction, nonfiction, whatever it is, right? In some way, your book is helping someone solve a challenge or achieve a dream. If it's not, then you want to use this workshop this week to get it to a place where it does. Because the reason people pick a book for their book club and hound all their friends and badger them to reading it is because in some way it's helping them solve a challenge or achieve a dream. Right? It doesn't have to be solving their whole life or achieving every dream they have. But we want to think about the way when we're leading a movement, we're helping people move from one place to another, mindset wise, or in their actions, in their life, in their finances, relationships, their community, whatever it might be. And so, what is the challenge or dream that your book is helping them with? You can just make a couple notes on that. And people say sometimes, well, you know, how could a fiction book help me solve a problem or achieve it? Well, people want to escape right now. They want to break from their life, or they want to learn about something. They want to travel. Someone was on our Substack was telling me how I wrote a piece about the book that saved my life for World Book Day last week. And I asked people what was a book that changed their life. And one of the women that wrote in talked about Under a Tuscan Sun, which is a book I love too, and about a woman that reinvents herself and goes to Italy and creates a new life after a really blindsided breakup. And like that book, it's a novel, okay, it's fiction, but inspired so many people to want to live a new dream, to reinvent the challenges. I feel stuck, or I feel like my life is over, I feel like I can't make a new start. And then the dream would be, oh my gosh, what if I could go to Italy, or whatever it might be, right? So solving a challenge or achieve a dream can happen in any genre, in any type of book, in any industry, right? Sometimes we're very literally helping people solve a problem and achieve a dream with a personal growth book or whatever it might be. Yeah. Okay. And then number 3 down here is one that gets overlooked so much, because we are mostly all writing about very evergreen things. Evergreen meaning it's always relevant. If your book is helping people, like, just let's hear some suggestions. Put the challenge or dream you help people with in the chat. So if it's parent, just put the category. You're helping people with parenting, you're helping people with who just want to experience, live vicariously through someone doing something exciting. You're helping people with leadership, with finances, with health, with spirituality, with creativity, with mindset, with like whatever, education, fill in the blank. So self-improvement, self-care and resilience, parenting, parents, transformation, okay, self-relationship. So most of the time, what we're going to write about is for people. What we're going to write about is always going to be important. I hope it's always important that people care about spirituality or faith, or being a good parent, or self-care or health, or financial empowerment, being a great leader. These are all things that we all are going to care about. But the key is, and this is really important for starting a movement in 2026, what is relevant and urgent about your specific topic right now? Always going to be important to be a parent, but why right now? You could say, well, because kids spend like 8+ hours a day on freaking screens. And it's more important than ever to have parents find ways to have connection, to be present, to cut through whatever that's doing to all of our brains, right? So you could cite what is happening right now in the world that's going to help you get clear on why it's so urgent right this minute, right? There is something. And guess what? It used to be a real pain in the butt for people I coach to figure this part out. And now you can do it. This is a great use of AI. I don't let AI write my book, but I use AI for this kind of thing. What are the top news stories, the trends, the headlines, the cultural things, the studies that have come out on my topic? And then you're going to find some kind of astonishing statistic, exciting study, really sobering piece of information that's going to help show the urgency and relevancy of your movement right now. Okay? Because your ideas are always going to be relevant, but why are they like house on fire relevant in 2026? Okay? And so you can go into your, if you use AI and you want to use Perplexity or Claude or Chat GPT or whatever, and you could just ask it, like, give me all the peer reviewed, no hallucinations, fact checked studies, statistics, news stories, and cultural moments. And you want to really something very specific. right? Like the New York Times came out with something a couple years ago that said 200 million people in America want to write a book. Okay, 200 million people. I'd love to write a book. And they're not here doing this work like you are because they're just going to talk about it and not do it. Right. But that's a specific, that's 200 million. It's like, whoa, right? Okay. And I always think about this because one of my first clients was a realtor, and there was a study that came out that people decide if they're buying or renting a property within 9 seconds of entering the property. That was her astonishing statistic. That was the like holy S. So it's like, hey, if you want to sell your house this year, I have to make sure that you've staged your home and set things up so that it sells that people know within 9 seconds. She had to break the 9 second barrier. We have to break the 2.9 second attention span barrier. She had to break the 9 second barrier for selling a property. That is a powerful, urgent statistic that someone needs to know. It's not going to work to make your, beautiful upstairs all wonderful in the balcony view because they're going to decide in 9 seconds from the entry point. Okay. So one of your homeworks for today is going to be to find a couple of, or at least one statistic, story, study, something that you can use to show the relevancy and urgency of your idea. So got it in the chat if this makes sense to you, that you're going to be combining to get your book to be set up as a bestseller, your passion and expertise, helping people solve a problem or achieve a dream. And you're going to identify what is urgent about it right now in 2026. So this changes, right? I want your book to be opening doors for you for the rest of your life. So we're always going to be working in this third circle because we want to know like what's relevant about it right now. There are books from 30 years ago that are highly relevant right now. You just got to kind of put the right wrapping paper on it. Yeah. Okay, awesome. A lot of you are like, I got it, got it, got it. Okay, amazing. Now, let's talk about this is about how to make your book a bestseller, but how do we make your book lead a movement? Okay, I'm going to talk about that next. And again, we touched on this a little bit at the preview session if you went to that. All right, we know that there are really big movements: civil rights, women's rights, Me Too, right? And when we think about like big cultural, societal movements, what are some of the common characteristics? I wanted to go and look at what are some of the common characteristics, what are movements doing? Okay. And identified a couple of things for us all to keep in mind, because as you write your book, you want to make sure your book is doing these things. All right. So one thing that movements have in common is that there's some kind of shared goal or mission based on an urgent need. We just talked about the urgency piece, but that's both individual and collective, right? What makes it a movement is not just one person, it's a whole movement of people. And so what is that shared goal or mission that your book is really going to rally people around, right? Something that benefits the individual and also that the individual cares about the collective. So in my book, The Download, that's coming out in October, there's this, because there's such a race for like all the AI obsession, not anti-AI, just saying while we're racing to do all of that and replace, humans, I am here to be a stand for the future of thought leadership, that we are continuing to bring original creative thinking, and that we are not atrophying our creative and innovative muscles, and we are developing our human and our creative intelligence as quickly as developing the artificial intelligence, and giving people a mechanism every single moment to say, if I need to tune in and get answers, I'm not just going to go to the machine first. I am going to go to source. I'm going to go to my imaginal mind. I am going to do that, not only because the answers will be singular and unique and solve the sameness epidemic that we're entering, but because I don't want that part of me to atrophy. Right? So that's like a shared goal or mission. Some people care about that. Some people are like, hell no, I love the idea of the computer doing everything. That's fine, right? It's okay. But there's a movement of us interested in cultivating the frontier of human intelligence and potential at the same time as machine-led, right? Second component, identity. People feel an identity. I am, believe in women's rights, civil rights. I believe in equality, or I believe in fair treatment. I believe in boundaries around perpetrator behavior, around Me Too, whatever it was, right? There's an identity piece to a movement that's different than a best-selling book that just kind of stands on its own in that way, right? and that there's this collective, mission builds into some kind of action at a community or a tribal level. Okay. So, what are some of the ways books have done that? Or movements have done that. Sometimes there's a symbol and people are wearing the symbol, or they're making a certain, hand gesture, or there is a flag of some kind, right? Like there is some kind of, so one way that people are getting people to like do an action is through something along those lines. There's some kind of visual symbol. There have been hashtag led movements, right? That's been huge in the last couple decades. Hashtag me too, right? Hashtag fill in the blank, right? So it could be having people use a hashtag is a way to generate that collective action. If anyone ever saw like the ice bucket challenge, that was a movement, right? It's like getting people like, just, like participate in that in some way, and you're doing something, dumping, cold ice, a bucket of ice on yourself or on someone. Okay. There's all kinds of examples of this. Maybe put in the chat ones that I'm not mentioning. What are different ways that you've seen movements happening in the world? Symbols, actions, hashtags, phrases, right? So we're looking for phrases, gestures, symbols, repeatable action people take that share and reinforce that identity, right? There's a movement in a lot of cities where people were doing beautiful art installations that say, "You are beautiful." Does anyone see that movement take place in your area? People have done murals, beautiful kind of textile cutouts in Chicago, where I live. There are multiple places where people did the "You are beautiful," right? And to create some kind of positivity in a world where there was a lot of negative reflection, right? So you're looking at, in what way is your book going to inspire people to take some kind of repeated action that is going to be kind of like this ripple effect around. Okay. So this is something you're going to think about as a homework today. Yeah. Live strong, real bummer, right? Well, exactly. Like, but we were wearing the bracelets. It was still a good idea of the movement. The fact that the leader, was, using steroids or whatever it was. Pardon if I don't know the exact drug, but it was, cheating, right? Um, okay. So what is the action? You're going to think about this. You're going to mull on this. You're going to marinate on that today. Okay. In the 5-second rule, right? This is an example of when Mel Robbins didn't have an audience yet. Right now, she's a very famous person, but when this came out, she didn't. She was a speaker, but she really wasn't well known. And she had one tool at the heart of this book. And she had people start using the tool on social media, which was counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then taking an action that they'd been avoiding. Right? That's the movement she created. She's like, here's this thing you can do every time you don't want to do the thing, whether it's pay your taxes, do push-ups, get out of bed. You're going to count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just do it. Right? She created a thing for people to do. And some people hate this, some people love it. But what helped Mel get like a whole movement behind this book and then grow her into the household name thought leader she is she had people like doing the 5-second rule around the world and then sending her screenshots every time they did it. So she had people from France and people from South America and people from Alaska and people from China and people from all over the world saying, "Oh my gosh, today I used the 5-second rule to ask someone on a date, or to clean out my, closet, or to eat the food that I know is better for me than the junk food," or whatever it was. Okay. So that was like a thought leader tool that she used. And she actually included those examples in her book. You don't have to, or you could. Maybe you love that, maybe you hate it. But the point was, whether she included them in her book or not, she got people doing it from all over the world. She created a movement around the 5-second rule. And then her whole book gave stories and examples and her own personal experience with that tool. Okay. So we went through some of these when we did the preview workshop, but for those of you that weren't there, just for fun, who started a book-centered movement about organizing? And you'll know it by the phrase spark joy. Okay. How many of us know it's Marie Kondo, right? Yes. Right. Whole movement started with a book about organizing. There's millions of books that are about organizing. Well, not millions, but there are thousands. I've checked on Amazon, and Marie Kondo made a movement. The other ones really didn't become a movement in the same way, the other organizing books. Okay? Who has led a book-centered movement around vulnerability and leadership? Put in the chat if you know who that would be. Yes, Brene Brown, right? We love Brene. All right. So Brene Brown started a movement around this. People write about vulnerability, they write about shame, they write about there's tens of thousands of leadership books, right? Women millionaires. This is a trickier one that I gave the group last week, okay? There are a lot of people doing women in wealth, but who said women's wealth is a form of protest? Who created a movement around it? Yeah, and you may have multiple guesses for this. The person I'm thinking of is Rachel Rodgers. Her book, We Should All Be Millionaires, because she really had movement energy in that book, especially by throwing down in the introduction women's wealth as a form of protest. Okay, so there are movements created. Who is doing a movement about let them right now? I know you all know. It's hard to escape, right? Who is leading a movement about let them? Right? About not being codependent, about not getting too involved in what other people think, letting people do what they're doing. Mel Robbins. Yeah. Right? Your friend Mel. Exactly. Right? So you can have a book, a different movement with different books. Like Mel had the 5-second rule, and then she made that into a movement, and now she has the let them movement. Okay. So what did they all do? They wrote the book about it, right? Remember why? Because the book's their flag in the ground. The book gives them the 1.8-second immediate recognition of the movement. And then they all had people do something. They had people not just read the book, put it on the shelf, watch another show. They had people become participants, not just passive readers. Okay, so put participant in the chat if that excites you. You want people to read your book and do something and to be different, to have a transformation. Yeah. Yeah, that's what movement leading books do. Okay. Right. They wrote the book that started the movement. So if you want to, we're going to take 2 minutes. If you like to use AI or you're just going to use your own awesome brain. Okay. And you could do this yourself. Right. Um, but one thing you could do is to say, okay, if you want to use AI for the next 2 minutes, you can tell it you're now a top Random House book marketer, and I want you to help me define my best-selling book key elements. Okay, and then you're going to give it the elements. Okay, and you can screenshot this or speak it into your AI, and you could say, "I'm writing a book about," and then insert your topic. For insert your ideal reader. And this is the Venn diagram, right? This is my passion because the dream or goal I can help my reader achieve. And then we're going to ask about that urgency piece. Look at the other books in the industry and identify gaps in the marketplace that my book can fill. So even if you already have a book, this is a great prompt to do to help you with your marketing. If you're just thinking about a book, you're going to take that one idea you came up with a few minutes ago, and you can either journal on this with your own brain, or you can use the AI and see what comes through to you and see what ideas it sparks. This is the way I think AI can be helpful here along with our own thinking. Okay, let's take 2 minutes and try this now. Again, even if you have a book, do this because it's going to help you with your marketing and your messaging. Yeah, Judith, welcome. You'll all get the replay sent out later today. And what we're doing right now is honing in on our best-selling movement leading book idea. So you can journal what's on the screen or use your favorite AI to help you. Let's go one more minute, everyone. Just get some ideas generated. Okay, let's go ahead and put some questions in the chat. Judith, you asked do I recommend a specific tool? Claude is considered the better writer than ChatGPT, but everything is about training it to not sound like AI. Again, we're not using the AI to write our books. That's really, well, first of all, it's not allowed in traditional publishing, but also we don't want to, have our books sound like they were ghostwritten by AI because we can all tell what that looks like now. So this is for our research. This is for our helping us look at gaps in the marketplace, helping us find statistics and studies. That's the way we're going to be using the AI this week. So yeah, you could use Claude, you could use ChatGPT, you could use whatever you want to train to be the better researcher. But tell it what it is. You're a top Random House editor, or you're a top researcher. You always have to tell it its role. At least most of the time, that helps you get better results. Okay, I want to hear in the chat what your experience with this was. Again, you can take more time with this after the workshop today, but who feels like they have more clarity by either journaling on or working with the AI to identify the aspects of your best-selling book per the Venn diagram? So I just want to hear clarity in the chat if you feel like you got some ideas, or you might want some more time with it. Interesting. So, Catherine, you got clarity. Lacey, you thought it was interesting. Pauline, more time. You got to start. Okay. Let's take a couple more minutes so that you can feel like you can, you could ask about those studies, statistics, and stories related to your topic. All right. Let's just take 2 more minutes and let yourself, feel like you got somewhere good. Oh, yeah, you can tell it's a top Random House book editor, or you can say, a top marketing strategist, a book marketing strategist. You just want to kind of give it its role. Deborah's asking, is there a way this can help with if you're co-authoring a book? Yeah, because you're still going to want to market your book, right? You could say, I'm writing a chapter of a book, and what's going to help pull my passion, helping people solve a problem, achieve a dream, and what's urgent about it now, right? So, yeah, absolutely. Elaine, I was trying to get that for you. Let me see if I can do it. I'll stop the share for a second and see if I can cut and paste it for you. We're just going to spend another about 30 seconds on this, but hold on. Okay, good.
I got it in the chat. Thank you.
Great. Wonderful. And you balance it. If you are using the AI, you might like what it comes up with and you might not. And that's back to our, human intelligence, right? Right? And then you can now remember, if you all of you who are doing the VIP, you're going to get all this sent to you in a workbook with the AI prompts and everything. But here's another one you guys can save, create a list. This is the one I mentioned earlier. Create a list of the top news stories, peer-reviewed research, other hooks that make this book urgent, relevant, and needed now. I know we're not supposed to say thank you, but I have to be polite to the AI. So, right. All right. All right. So, what one takeaway from that exercise, whether you journaled or used online support, what is one insight you took away from that exercise of looking at the Venn diagram, the aspects of a best-selling movement leading book, and either journaling on or using AI research around your topic? Let's just hear one takeaway because it could inspire other people. Karen, it affirmed for you you're on the right track. Lacey, you're really seeing where the gaps are that you want to make sure you're hitting. Our Will, it's helping you focus on your message. Yep. No emotions final, Terry. Okay. You felt CBS, you felt you're on the right track as well. Clarification of the needs, Sandy. Elena helping you start identifying your ideal client and reader. Your message is needed, Madeline. Yep. Okay. So now let's get into it. Madeline's like, now I got to hone in on the clarity for this book. Okay. JL, it helped confirm your method is accurate moving forward. Yeah, Dr. Robin, how important is it to identify a specific audience? Well, it's fairly important in the sense that it doesn't have to be like a demographic, like women at this age who live in cities, right? But you do want to have probably either demographics or psychographics, which would be a certain mindset or a value or a common lived experience, people who've experienced trauma or people that are obsessed with personal growth or people that are seeking the frontiers of their spirituality. I think you want to have some identification of your reader because otherwise it's very difficult to decide what goes in the book and what goes out of the book, unless you just want to write it for yourself, right? People that just want to feel like I just want to kind of write this for my family or just for an exercise for myself, then you don't have to be concerned. If you want to start a movement, you definitely want to think about who is joining that movement, right? Yeah, I got it. Okay, excellent. Yeah, a lot of times the psychographics are way more important, right? So, Catherine, you got something useful out of that for how to differentiate your book. Okay, are we ready to keep going? We're ready to keep going? All right, let's do it. All right, so now what we're going to go into, those of you that were like, all right, now what do I do? I've got an idea. Great, helpful. I understand the components of a bestseller. Okay, cool. I am looking at, what makes it urgent now, great. But so we build towards you getting to do your outline today. Okay. So this is what we would call your book category or book genre. What type of book are you writing? So I'm going to roll through a bunch of different types, and I want you to think about either the book that you're writing, which one does it fit into if you're already well into your project or you've written it, or the book you're thinking about writing, which one excites you the most. Okay. And I'm going to point out which ones are most conducive to movement leadership. All right. Because they're not all the same. So, memoir. Memoir is you write about your true life story, almost like a novel, except it happens to be true. And you're going to use that to lead your movement. Okay. So, Diane Wilson, one of our clients, had a traumatic brain injury. That journey of healing herself took her into a whole new career. She became a neuroscientist. She, was presented at Harvard. She has won many awards for her book. And when she came in to work with us to do that book, Brain Dance, she's like, I could make this non just straight up how to self-help, but I just want to tell my story and have that lead to people having an awakening, right? So that would be a memoir. All right. So just be thinking as we go through these. All right. Personal growth. This is where you're going to be more of a coach or a guide in your book. You're going to give people some strategy, a method. You're going to move them to transformation through some kind of a structure or a program or a set of steps or a series of information that you share. Okay. Still might be very much based in your life experience and your story, but you're going to actually give people actions to take. Okay. So that would be under like the personal growth self-help camp. Okay. So we've had our authors do this, like when they want to make sure these are the personal growth books are great if you want to, really help people understand your methodology. So our clients, Diana Matuzrak and Letty Sullivan, both did this so they could move people into actual action and support them. All right. Maybe you're doing a novel. Novels, as we talked about, can still change the world, right? Many of these books up here you probably read either in school or by choice, and they changed things. They started movements. Toni Morrison, in Beloved and in The Bluest Eye, refused to write for the white gaze, and that changed the movement around literature, and more diversity in literature and more points of view in literature was really, really important, right? So that was a fiction book that still started a movement. So we've had our clients do. Amy Peel was just here with her fifth book, and she'd worked in transplant medicine. She could have written a book about that, but she wrote mystery thrillers that take place in the transplant world. And she speaks at medical conferences, does all kinds of cool things with that book, starting a movement around more awareness and getting support for transplants in that way. Christy Booker was a health coach. She didn't want to just write her method in a how-to. She wanted to tell a story of a woman working with a health coach, sort of a business fable. And that's become really popular in the last few years. Okay. You may want to write a thought leader book. Thought leader book is where you are going to bring its personal growth, but it's like you're bringing a new idea into the world. The tipping point, the 4-hour work week, right? Almost like your thing becomes a phrase that people are talking about. It's a whole new paradigm that you're taking a topic that's been written about a lot of times, but you have this very specific kind of method or idea around it. Okay. And some of these, of course, blend, right? They're hybrids of each other. Right. So we've had clients of ours do this when they want to not only coach people or, give them guidance, but they want to really they want to introduce a whole new dynamic, whole new way of seeing things. Right. Now, the most powerful way to start a movement with a book is what I call the thought leaders. The HC means high converting, the high converting thought leader book. Okay. This is the one that's also going to open the most. If you were one of the people that said, I want all the doors to open, this is the book that you're going to want. This is the kind of book you're going to want to consider, some version of this. Okay. This is where it's personal growth. It's a thought leader book, but it also embeds some kind of action, like we just talked about, that people are going to do a quiz or an assessment. I'm going to show you tomorrow exactly how to do this so that we're not just talking theory, but that you have the how to. Okay. But this is where you're going to get people involved and they're going to take an action through your book, not just be a reader where you only have a one-way relationship with them. All right. If you are a doctor, a lawyer, a consultant, a coach, you might want to take your practice or your method and turn that into a book. So Lisa Fraley is a business attorney for women business owners, and she really wanted the law to not feel scary and intimidating. And so she wrote this book about, making business law easy, and she took her practice and put it into her book. Right? If you're a coach and you have a 12-week coaching program, you can have your 12 weeks become the chapters of your book. Right? If you're a speaker already, you could turn your talk into a book. So Simona Spark was one of our clients. English was her third language. She said, Sarah, I really want to do a book. I just don't feel comfortable, but I do feel comfortable speaking. So we started there and we helped her develop her method into a TEDx talk and speaking at conferences. And then she felt so embodied that she was ready to write her book and wrote this beautiful best-selling memoir. So you could turn a talk into a book. You might not want to write your whole book. Some of you said I'm co-authoring a book. You might want to write a chapter and then have other people contribute a chapter. Megan McCann wanted to do that because she wanted to do a book very quickly. So she did her book in 8 weeks. She wrote a chapter. She had other people contribute chapters on her theme. She put them all together. She's like, I need a best-selling book by June. We only had a few months, and we put together a collaborative book for her. Okay. So you might want to do a collaborative book or its cousin, an interview book. This is what Tim Ferriss did in Tribe of Mentors. He wrote 1.5 pages, and then he had awesome people that he wanted to interview on a series of questions, and he published the interviews in the book. And so when I was working with Perry Grossman, one of our clients, she got inspired. I showed her that idea. She had gotten long haul COVID. She was very sick, very depleted. And she said, I want to do this book on transformation after 45, people who reinvented themselves, but I just feel depleted. And we decided to help her with the interview book. Yep. Yeah, Dina, you're asking what's the criteria for bestseller? Okay, so bestseller is just numbers. Okay. Awards are for like the quality of a book and they get voted on. Bestseller is numbers. So if you want to be a bestseller on Amazon, right, you have to be in the top 100 books in a category in Amazon to become a bestseller. Okay. That could be hundreds of books or thousands of books. If you want to be like on the USA Today bestseller list, you're usually talking about you're selling 4,000 books in a week, 4 to 6. New York Times, 20,000 and up per week. Okay, so just to like just give you, it's just volume, but it isn't just, it can't all be Amazon for USA Today and New York Times, right? That's a whole come in VIP if you all want to get the download on on the bestseller list. We've cracked the code on them all. I tell you anything you need to know about them all. But you like if you want to be on the New York Times bestseller list, you can't just sell books on Amazon, right? You have to be all you have to be in bookstores. You have to have books from many geographic regions, all different places. So again, anyone wants to nerd out on that, I'm here for you because I've got my book coming out in the fall, as I said. So I'm happy to share more about that. Yeah, Catherine, you're looking at how to differentiate your book and stand out, right? That's why creating a movement, whether it's a gesture, an action, a hashtag, that's already going to be so different than so many books, right? So the question book I added last year when I was teaching books because I saw a couple people do this, which is pretty interesting. Let's say you feel overwhelmed. You want to have a book to demonstrate your expertise. You want to be able to, be a speaker, but it just feels really overwhelming to do one of these other type of models. And so you could take a list of every question you get asked by people who know about your expertise. And each of the answers to those questions could be a chapter, right? So if you're starting something, if you're starting something new, you can review the comments that people are asking the top influencers or experts in your space, and you can make your answers to those questions. If you already have a business, a practice, you think the things that people are always asking you, and you can answer a piece, you can answer one question per chapter, for example, right? And we've had people, you could do that book very, very quickly if you wanted to. All depends on the doors you want your book to open. This is great for if you're writing a book as a lead generator for your business. You're not really thinking about top speaking engagements or media or other things, but you just really want to have an amazing resource that helps people understand you know your stuff. You could be their trusted expert. There's more they need from you, and you could do this. Pauline is saying you've heard people tricking the system. Yeah, I mean, you can try, Pauline, but it's you'd still have to you still have to meet all the criteria of those lists, and they need to see sales all over the country. Yeah, I mean, you can have a book street team and have people from all over the country, buy books, and that's a good thing to do. I don't think that's scamming the system. That's called marketing, right? You just like let people get inspired about your book. Now, if you just try to go buy, because people have tried this many times, if you just try to go buy 20,000 books, they're not going to put you on the New York Times. Okay. They'll be like, no, thank you. There's very specific ways now, can people still game the system? Sure. Right. But that's not what we're about here, right? We're wanting to make an impact and reach real readers. Okay. So the question book. All right. So we've gone through a lot of different types of books: memoir, novel, personal growth, thought leader, high converting thought leader, interview books, collaborative books, question books. So which of these is the right one for you? If you've already written your book, tell us in the chat which kind of book it is. And if you are starting your book, and that's why you're here, which type of book do you think is going to be the ideal fit for you? Okay. So, you're doing thought leader. Great. High converting thought leader. Prescriptive memoir, Lacey. High converting thought leader. Yep. Yeah, Terry, because many of them are personal. Like a thought leader book is personal growth and self-help. You know what I mean? That just sort of it just blends in. But what a regular personal growth book isn't going to do is have the mechanisms in place and the strategies to be a movement leading book or necessarily a high converting client attracting book, right? So you've got to do different things for those. Yep. Okay. Which is what we're here putting together. All right. So I want everyone to give each other some high fives and some love that you have thought about your front runner book idea. You've started to percolate and get some ideas down on what's going to make it set up for the bestseller zone. And now we've looked at what kind of book you're writing. Because if you're writing a memoir, which is completely and only about your story, that's very different than a high converting movement leading thought leader book where you're going to include your story, but also your method, and you're going to get people to do something, right? So way to go. Yes, I like that, Sandy. We're getting claps. We're getting some claps. All right. Yeah, and some of your books may blend. Of course. Of course. The book The Science of Getting Rich for Women, that I came out with in 2022 as part of the women's economic comeback from the $800 billion that women lost in the pandemic. When I wrote that book, the first half is a high converting thought leader book, and the second half is an interview book because I didn't just want my voice and women that look like me from my background to be included. I had 25 other self-made women millionaires share who started with nothing and came from, a financial struggle like I did. And they all contributed because I wanted other voices included in that book. Right. And that book has been our most high converting book of any of the books I've written so far. Okay. So you can absolutely do hybrids. Okay, so just take 1 minute and just take some breaths and just journal on this, just free write into it. See if there's any other insights you want to capture when thinking about your book's genre. Okay, and then put an E in the chat if you're feeling more excited about your book idea or your finished book that you have because you know some of these pieces. Like who's feeling like it's like, yeah, okay, I feel more empowered. I feel more excited, more clear. Okay, if you don't, just keep sticking with it. You're doing great. You're going to get there. Awesome. But it sounds like most of you are. Okay, beautiful. All right. So now we want to go further so we can start to prepare to create a book map or a book outline. Okay. Sometimes the word outline feels very like, writing academic papers in school. So you might like the term book map instead of book outline. All right. Movia, you're asking, is choosing your book genre like picking a niche? It's really more about the structure of your book, Movia, right? So it's more about like if you're writing a memoir, there's a whole different, outline you're going to create, which is what we're getting into now, than if you're writing a thought leader book. So it's really kind of how your book is structured. Um, your voice is really like the tone in which you're writing. That'll come in more to play tomorrow when we're talking about like the actual craft. Yep. So you wouldn't like expand a genre. Like if you're writing a memoir, that doesn't expand, but your niche could expand. Yeah. So great question. Thanks for asking that. Okay. So here's what happened to me. I really, 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 really wanted to be a published author. Really wanted to. Okay. I'm being a little silly, but it's because it was a deep, deep, deep calling. And I want to hear in the chat if it's a calling for you. If you feel called, put a C. Like this is a calling for you, this book that whether it's your first book or a next book, you feel called. And I really did feel called to write, as I said, a book saved my life. I wanted to pay that gift forward. But I could not. I could not get myself to write. I could not get myself to be consistent. I couldn't get myself to make the time. I couldn't get myself to, I would get overwhelmed. I'd have too many ideas. I would think the writing sucked. It was just all kinds of, there were all kinds of things going on. And I would see these people who were writing a book every year. And I was like, I was so like, I was happy for them and I was envious of them because I was like, how it would take me forever to do any writing. And I was like, how are they doing it? And so I procrastinated by like reverse engineering. I actually went through 100 New York Times bestselling books, 100 nonfiction New York Times bestselling books that I loved, that have made a huge impact, that people love, that people bought for years and years. And I sought to find out what they all did. Like, what did every single one of those books do? I wanted to find the common denominators, right? And so I identified three common denominators that all these books did in some form, in some order. They all did these things. And I created this secret book framework. And it's not a secret because I'm sharing it with you, but it's secret because readers won't know. It won't feel formulaic. Readers aren't going to pay attention, but you are going. This is what created a breakthrough for me. And I'm going to give it to you now so that you can use it if it resonates with you. Because I went from struggling to write any book ever to taking 3 years to write a book. That's where I was kind of like hitting this impasse to being able to write a book in as fast as I did my fastest book in 8 weeks. Now, it's not always about speed, but I do want you to have something that can be a catalyst and have this happen so much more easily and quickly for you. When you're writing a really research heavy book like I just wrote, it was not an 8 week book. I wrote that book, I worked on that book for a year, but it would have taken me 10 years if I didn't have this kind of information. Okay. But when you're writing a book about your expertise, your business, your coaching program, your methodology, we help people do those books in 90 days often, many, many, many times, hundreds of times. Okay. So I want to share this with you, and you can decide what pieces or all of it that you might like to do. Okay. So what all of these books did is they had three S's. Okay. So we're going to go S1, S2, S3. All right. And I want you to think about how this might apply if you are writing a thought leader book. Okay. So it starts with, in some form, you're going to share your story. Okay. You have an origin story of your book. There is a reason you are writing the book that you're here writing. It is not random. Okay. Something in your experience, most likely either traumatic or wonderful, happened for you. And it is why you're doing what you're doing today and why you want to write this book. So, again, the superheroes all have usually trauma that led to their special ability, right? They got bitten by something. Batman's parents got killed behind the movie theater. Whatever. I don't know all that. I don't watch a lot of the Marvel movies, but we know like these stories, right? Where things happened and then suddenly they got called to be this force for good in the world. Okay. Yeah, and like JL and Catherine, you're saying, I am, you know, I'm here writing for transformation. So your reader is going to want to know your story, right? Your reader's going to want to know that you've been somewhere that they've been, or that you've walked through something. How many of you put S1 in the chat if you can identify a link between the book that you're writing now and something that imprinted on you, that occurred for you? It could be a download that you got that just made you see the world in a special way, that was blissful and wonderful. It could have been a really hard thing that you went through, a health crisis, a breakup, a challenge. Yeah. Okay. You all know this. The issue is, does your reader know it? Okay. Does your reader know it? Because until we know someone's story, we might be up in our skeptic head. So what this first S does in your book is it brings your reader down into the heart. And it does not have to be dramatic, like Brendan Burchard's near fatal car wreck or Eckhart Tolle having a psychotic break on the park bench. Like sometimes we hear these stories and think, oh my God. One of our clients was writing about college admissions. That's her expertise. And she wanted to take parents and kids out of this craziness and comparison and what are other people doing and really help them find their most authentic, perfect path and get in the real dream school, the aligned school. And she said, well, I don't have a really dramatic story. You know, I didn't have a near death experience about this. No, it's just, why do you care? Why do you care? What happened in your college experience or as a parent with your kids that made you want to do this? Right. So I just want to really like right size that, because sometimes we can think it has to be some over the top thing, but it doesn't. Right. All right. So your superhero origin story needs to be in there. All right. Second S, and this was just kind of great. Mark Batterson wrote, there's a moment, every book has a story. There's a moment when an idea is conceived in the imaginations of the author, and the idea is destined to become a book. Right? You've all had that moment. We did that at the beginning, your destiny moment. Okay. So there's a reason you wrote the book you're going to write the book that you're writing, and you're going to share that with the reader in some way. Okay, S number 2, we ready? Right? This is the situation, which also includes the stakes. So in the beginning, you're gonna, and you don't have to do them in this order, but you're gonna share your story so the reader trusts you and knows you have expertise, you have passion, you have lived experience, you have professional experience, whatever it might be. They understand why you care, why it's a mission for them. And then we're gonna zoom out from your story to what's going on in the greater world. Right? What is going on around your topic that makes this urgent and relevant? Where are you going to get that? Oh, in the work you just did, right? And the work you're going to continue to do from the Venn diagram. The situation, right? So you might like I always use Mike Michalowicz's book Profit First. He tells a story of being an entrepreneur, a very successful one, and not having any money for his family and being in debt, and his health is deteriorating, and his wife wants a divorce because he's never home, and he's making this money, but it all goes back in the business. But then in the situation, he zooms out and says, hey, I'm not a pathetic loser. 90% of entrepreneurs don't make any money. They're not profitable. And then he gives us the stakes. And this isn't going to change. You can start 10 businesses, you can have them all be making millions of dollars, and you still might be in debt, and you still might lose your marriage, and you still might lose your health, and that's not okay. Those are the stakes. Yeah, Catherine, tomorrow, let's talk more about this, because really what you're talking about here is you don't want to sound victimy. No, that's right. So we're going to share, right? We're going to share, we're not going to share from a victim place. We're going to share from the person that fell down the hole and found their way out. You're here because you're a miracle. And even if it's not all the way resolved yet, there's things you've already learned that could help someone, right? In our book, we just need to be the 5th grader to someone's 3rd grader, right? Sometimes that is even more compelling than someone who's like, oh, I went to MIT and I've studied it and I know about things, right? You're here for a reason, Catherine. I believe every book is a call and response. And you've all been called here because there are people that are praying for someone to give them a solution, an inspiration, a story, let them know they're not alone. That's what you're all doing here. Okay. So the situation and the stakes, what is going on in the world around your topic? And what are the stakes if they don't do something about it? Yeah, Pauline, it was either Louise Hay or Abraham Hicks that said, when you're done, you're dead. If you're done working on yourself, you're no longer going to be here at Earth School, right? Okay. So put S2 in the chat if this makes sense. You don't have to have your mind around it yet. This is going to be a homework, but does this make sense for you? Like I get that I want to be able to share with people. Zoom out. They say every great book has both the individual and the universal within it. Okay, so you're going to share your individual experience and story and expertise, but you're going to then share like what's the situation and what are the stakes? If you're writing a parenting book and like, what are the stakes if we don't set some limits with the kids and the screens and the whatever? What's going to happen to their brain? Are they going to become addicts? Like whatever it is, right? What are the stakes? We got to give people a little bit of tough love so they'll be willing to do S3, which is the rest of your book. All the rest of your chapters, your content is S3, which is your solution. Okay. This can be your step-by-step method. This can be it can be your step-by-step method. This can be your coaching framework. This can be your, you know, anecdotal stories around each things. It could be a 30-day experience, whatever it is, your solution. Yeah. And then in the high converting thought leader book, you can embed a QR code or a link and someone does something interactive with you, right? We're going to talk about that tomorrow about how to build that out. Okay. So your solution. Okay. Put S3 if that makes sense. It would not be a nice book if we told people our story. Here's what happened. Here's my expertise. Here how I can help. And here's what's going on in the world. And here are the stakes if you don't do it. And then say, okay, see ya. Bye-bye. No, we got to give people, take them on the journey, whether it's through our story or whether it's through steps, whether it's through a method. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's take a minute here and just make any notes you want to make about those three S's. Okay. Just like anything that's popping as we're starting to talk about it. And those of you that asked about a call to action, just this is what your thought leader book outline could look like. Yeah, the second S is the situation. Okay, so this is where you zoom out and it's like, okay, this was my story, my experience. Let's say you're writing about having overcome Lyme's disease without medication and you're symptom free, right? That's your story. You have a really powerful personal story. But that's in the second S, you're going to say, like, this is how many people get Lyme's disease every year. And this is what the treatment normally is, or this is how often it's not diagnosed. And this is what's so crappy about it. And this is how you're going to feel terrible. And if you don't, think about other ways to do it or hear, all of those things, you're going to talk about the situation and the stakes of your topic. Marisa, are you asking about how to put an assessment um, in your book, or are you talking about working with our team? So just let me know which it is. We can help you either way. Tomorrow, I'm going to show you all more about how to work with, assessments or interactive experiences or things that help make a movement. Um, Yes. Yeah. Marisa, Michelle, will you drop the application? So Marisa and anybody else, if you want to work with our team to do this and have our editors and have everyone just, you can just fill out the application while I'm talking. It takes less than 2 minutes. And then we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you right away by tonight and let you know next steps. Okay. There it is. Thanks, Michelle. And thanks, Marisa. Okay. So story situation. Yeah. And then Lauren, that's where we're going to go next. So you're going to start to build your outline. Okay. So in the thought leader book, you don't have to do it this way. I just want to offer this to you as a way. This took me from agonizing over how to put a book together to doing a book very expediently. Good books that win awards, that impact people, that change lives. Okay. And attract clients. So you're going to share your story and then you're going to share the situation. And tomorrow I'm going to show you how to put the interactive resource in your book so that people go from reader to client, reader to take your course, reader to come on your retreat, whatever it is where you want to lead them. And then number 3 onward is your solution. Okay, however many chapters you want to have. Elena, you're saying you don't want to do another self-help book. Yeah, exactly. Well, the key, you want to inspire people to action. So this is going to be super story driven, right? I'm just giving you the bones of an idea for the bones of a book here, everybody. This isn't like to make it formulaic and boring. This is just what's secretly embedded in all the top New York Times bestselling books that are nonfiction, right? People are doing some version of this. And the reader doesn't see it because you're going to have your story, you're going to have the craft, you're going to have, these epic moments. My new book, The Download, does not follow the SSS. You don't have to, right? But if you have a methodology and a system and a framework, it can be such a liberating way to put your book together with alacrity, right? So this is just like the architecture underneath that no one pays attention to, but I want to show you guys behind the curtain so that you don't feel stuck and overwhelmed with how to put your book together. Yeah, right? And it's a good point because otherwise we'd be like, this sounds really boring, right? But it's not. It's just that this is the underpinning and the eco-skeleton of the book. And then around it, we have the big brushes and the medium brushes and the fine brushes of all of your story, your heart, your soul, your unique way of taking the reader on the journey. Yeah. Okay, so if you were going to do a novel or a memoir, you're going to use a different kind of outline. So those of you that are in VIP, you'll get this workbook with the different outlines and different things you can use and the AI prompts. Okay, but just to show you what this looks like, you know your memoir or novel that usually is going to start with an inciting incident. You know, whether it's a true story or a made up story, your hero, your shiro needs to have a goal. They need to go through challenges and obstacles. They achieve it or they don't achieve it, and there's a resolution. So that's a different kind of outline than a thought leader book where we're really focusing on the story, the situation, and the solution. Yeah, Deborah, you're writing this to make people want what you put out there. You want the book to give you authority. So, yeah, that's exactly right. Well, then I would definitely go with some version of a thought leader book, right? And remember, this is still story driven. Your story is weaving throughout the whole thing. It's just that we want upfront people to know they can trust us. We want people to know that they want to take the ride with us. Okay. So I've told the story many times about, um, whitewater rafting with my family. And it was awful because my family was very dysfunctional at that time. And we got in a huge fight on the river and it was a disaster. But the part of this anecdote has nothing to do with my family that needed to be sent to therapy instead of on the river. But the guide for the whitewater rafting adventure that we went on was a man named Jake. And when Jake came into the little cabin where everyone was learning about how to do the whitewater rafting trip and getting briefed on it, Jake showed up and he had a flannel shirt, his work boots, and his 5 o'clock stubble. And he said, I am so happy to be with you all and be your guide today. I was born here. My dad took me on the river since I was 5 years old. I know every turn, I know every rock, I know every rapid. And even though whitewater rafting can be dangerous, I I've got you and I've never had anyone get hurt on my watch. Right? So that's like who would trust Jake? So just put me in the chat if you would get in the raft with Jake. You'd say Jake's a good guide to take me on the whitewater experience today, right? I totally trusted Jake. Again, my family needed a lot of help, but we trusted Jake. All right. Now, yes, we all want to date Jake. In fact, like forget just taking the raft guide. Maybe we want to go on a date with Jake. Okay. But let's say, and I always, use this kind of example, let's say Stan from Wall Street showed up in the cabin instead. And Stan's wearing a pinstripe suit and he's kind of Wolf of Wall Street. His hair is greased back. He's got cocaine powder on his nose. He's clearly high out of his mind. And he's like, dude, bro, I have heard whitewater rafting's awesome. Never done it, but it's going to be sick. Let's go. Here's your jackets. Get in the boat. Like, who's getting in the boat? Rafting trip with Stan. I am not getting on that river with Stan, right? And yeah, who's writing Catherine about how to find your Jake, right? Lacey is a no to Stan, right? We want Jake. We don't want to date Stan, and we don't want to go on a whitewater trip with Stan. I mean, I don't want to make assumptions for anyone else. I don't want to do either of those things. I don't want to do any, I don't want to have any contact with Stan. But Jake is dreamy. Jake, I will go rafting with. All right. So the point is that's a really exaggerated, ridiculous example, but I make it because sometimes we don't feel like how important sharing our story is, our experience. You could feel Jake was present. You knew Jake had been on the river since he was 5. He'd been doing this for 30 years. He was all the things. All right. So, it's so like there is a deep connection that gets made when we let people know this isn't just like, oh, I'm writing this book just for kicks or, to say I wrote a book. Yeah. All right. So if you want to, this just says yesterday, just ignore that. But you could, if you want to, tell the AI that it's a top book marketer and editor. You could tell it you learned Sarah Cannell's SSS book structure, story, situation / stakes plus solution. And this isn't yesterday. You shared about your book. You shared it today, right? Please create a simple and strategic outline that highlights my story, pulls the statistics and studies about the situation, and then you'll input what your solution steps are. Like you could write a really a really quick outline right now if you wanted to. Okay. You could also just make some notes based on the SSS, and you could just make some journal notes about this right now. Okay. So I want to give, if you're writing a memoir or novel, you might want to plot that hero's journey or Shiro's journey, right? A little bit different. So let's spend 2 minutes working on an outline. All right. You're either going to just journal on it and start some ideas, or those of you that like using AI, go ahead and tell it a little bit more about what we just did and see what it comes back to you with. Oh, for sure, Catherine. Couldn't agree more. And that's about you getting yourself in state, me getting myself in state before I write. I don't let myself just go right to the computer. I get into the frequency first, then I write from there. Yeah. Yeah, Jennifer, I'm going to get that for you. Okay, use the same. If you're going to use this prompt written the way I've written it, you'll want to use the same thread you just started earlier today. So the bot will build on it. Yeah, Deborah, it's up to you. Claude is a better writer, but we're not using it to write. We're using it to, make an outline. I think Claude's a little more strategic. So I'd vote for big Claude. Terry, I think it depends what settings you use. Mine does. Deborah, you're asking, is poetry something that can work in a thought leader book? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if that's the way poetry talks directly to the soul, right? You would just want to, in addition to the poetry, have some of these other elements, right? So it sounds like if you're using it like interstitially, in some ways, absolutely. It just again depends what you want your book to do. If it's to, inspire, have people have an interchange, it could be all poetry. If you're wanting the book to do that and also bring people to do further work with you, come to classes you teach or workshops you create or other things, then you'll want to have some of those other elements. Okay, so we're going to go for another 5 minutes, and then I'll check in with you. If you need a bio break, you need to go get some food, some water, you can do that while we're doing this, either AI or journaling, and then we'll come back together. So we're gonna just make sure everyone gets to take care of themselves since we have a kind of marathon session today. Yeah, Deborah, beautiful, melt away. I think that's gorgeous. Okay, I'm just going to check in with everyone. We're going to keep going. We've got plenty of time. Put in the chat um, interesting if you've got some ideas if this is useful, whether you're journaling or using the AI. Put an I for interesting, like you've got some things percolating and cooking. Okay, I just want to make sure that this is proving useful because we're going to talk more about developing your outline and do some more work on that in just a moment. Okay, Karen, you're getting some stuff. Lacey. Okay, let's stick with it, whether you're journaling or working with the AI, and just start to sketch out a very, very first pass at your outline. If your book is done, I want you to go back and look at that Venn diagram and be fleshing out your messaging. Great, Catherine. I'm so excited to hear that. Awesome. Oh, fantastic, Geraldine. It's getting you out of that stuck place. Huge. That's so big. Okay, great, CBS. You're getting something beneficial here too. Okay, awesome. Okay, good. Keep on going, everybody. I wanted to play music, but if you're trying to talk to your AI, that'd be distracting, so I'm not. Wonderful, Movia. Great. Okay. One more minute, everybody. Great, Lisa. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so I want everyone, let's take a deep breath. Deep breath. Give yourself a stretch. Give yourself some pats on the back, on the arms. Give yourself a hug. Let's give each other some hearts and some love for just digging in, right? Like really digging in and thinking about, again, whether you have a book well underway or you're here just starting to think about something new, your book's all the way done, you're looking at how to make it a movement. You have done great, great, great work. Okay, so I love all those. I love the hearts. Okay, so happy to see those. All right, now what I want, we're not obviously done with our outlines, but I want to hear from a couple people. Deborah, we'll send the replay this afternoon. We have to just let everything kind of, finish processing and everything, and then we'll send that out for you. Um, okay, so I want to hear from three people. What has been like what do you know about your outline so far? Just give us an insight about your outlines. Like, oh, I actually feel excited because I know this feels aligned and I know exactly what to put in my book now. Or I feel totally unclear. That didn't help me at all. Or okay, so I just want to get a pulse check. And Lacey, yeah, let's hear from you.
Hey,
Hi.
how are everybody?
How
I don't
are
know where
we?
that came
How are
from.
we? I love it.
Oh my gosh. So the last time I did this, I didn't have any part of my book written, so it was a little like, what is an outline? I don't know. And it's just so awesome because I know exactly where everything's fitting.
Yeah.
It's pretty like I'm just going through this thing that just spits out, and I'm like, okay, well, those stories are going there, that part's going there. It's like just really remarkable how it's
Yes.
just even the words that it's using. I'm like, that's good, that's not good. I'll go back into that.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's just organizing the stuff that I've got, and
Fabulous.
it's exciting. I'm super,
Yes,
super
I'm so
excited.
happy for you. And everyone take heart, okay? Like take heart because Lacey's saying, yeah, the first time I first passed through this, I didn't have anything written yet. It just didn't feel clear. And now it's really coming together. So way to stick with it. I love that, Lacey. Yay! Congratulations.
Thank
More
you.
clarity to come. Okay. Awesome. Who else has something you want to share about where you are in the process? Pauline.
Yeah, this has been really great. Thank
Right.
you so much. So yeah, it helped me figure out kind of the tension in the book of what's being solved. That I
Mhm.
like the part where you brought up the not just my story, but how it fits in the situation, the more collective experience of what's actually relevant today.
Yeah.
And so I'm writing, creating a movement called the Beloved Entrepreneur. And I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years. So I'm trying to distill like why this burnout for women entrepreneurs is happening.
Yeah.
And it's like we go into entrepreneurship to have a freedom lifestyle, but yet we become enslaved to the
Right.
chase of success
Sure.
and ignore our bodies. And it's like that capacity isn't honored. It's instead the the model of success that we're sold. And
Right.
it doesn't help that, social media and everything is pointing into do more, be more, prove your
Right.
worth and everything. And I think that just leads to burnout. And that wasn't my experience of entrepreneurship, and focusing on the love of serving others was
Yeah.
more important to me. And so I guess that's what I want to bring back to women entrepreneurs is how to stay true to yourself, not to abandon yourself and your values
Yeah.
in order to have that freedom lifestyle.
That's so beautiful, Pauline. Well, as a woman entrepreneur, I'm very grateful for you leading and being a thought leader in this and a movement leader in this. Okay. So great. All right. So thank you for sharing that. And that gave you something, a new dimension to think about that it's your story, but also like the situation and the stakes, Pauline. There's health stakes, there's relationship stakes, there's life regret stakes. Like you've got in your movement quite, and so creating like a love of self, of
Mhm.
service in the entrepreneur, like we can feel that. So thank you for sharing. That's beautiful.
Thanks.
Awesome. Okay. Let's take one more. What came up as you looked at your outline? Yeah. And do you go by our will or tell us.
It's Richard, actually. It just, I can't access it right now to change it to
Oh, yeah,
Richard.
perfect.
So
Richard. Well, hello, Richard. I'm so happy to see you. And tell us
thank you, Sarah.
what's come up for you.
I really like the exercise. And I've been, if I write an essay or something like that, it's easy to come out with an outline, a structure. But I've been wrestling with this writing project for a while.
Yeah.
And so a little bit about me, I was a monk for 6 years. I loved that, would have done it for the duration. Then after that, I was an inner city school teacher. And the book has to do with the Bible. Monks spend a lot of time getting to know the scriptures pretty well.
Yeah.
And it's funny, but hidden at the beginning of the Bible, women are not treated well in a lot of different stories. And the whole Bible, from beginning to end, is about women and men. Like, for example, at the beginning of the Bible, you got Adam and Eve being created. At the end of the Bible, there's a wedding. So the whole Bible is about kind of almost Jungian themes of women
Mm.
and men.
Yeah.
And uh, and so what's it about? It's uh, it's seeing that theme, and then in the middle of the Old Testament, things start getting better mostly because of women. So there are four key women, makes the red line of hope, and then through that it leads to the birth of Jesus, the most integrated person ever. And then with Jesus, we have, and also with all religions, we have the ability to become integrated human beings. And
Mm.
when that happens, both individually and communally, then the party can get rocking and humanity can really get its act together. So I'm still trying to condense that and distill it down to a bullet statement, but I'm not sure if that's possible, if that makes sense.
Richard, it's beautiful. I'm so loving. Are we feeling this, you guys? Like how we've only got to hear from three people. Lacey didn't get to share her incredible movement, but between just Pauline, Richard, and Lacey already, how powerful, right? To see. So, Richard, yeah, I mean, you will boil it down. Okay, we will start to condense, and all of you who, because we're going to move on to the next sections here in a minute, but please do join us in the VIP room if you can, so I can customize this with you. Like, because Richard, we could come down. Like, what is that one sentence? I mean, the messaging of these books is like, oh, sometimes, right? I've just been wrestling, with my new one because we're so in it, we're so immersed. But Richard, I'm riveted, right? And looking at those threads and those through lines that you're talking about. And again, do we hear Richard's story? Right? We hear his story. He was a monk. He's had this incredible experience. Then we hear the situation. Hey, a lot of us are unintegrated humans, right? And there's a solution, S3, Richard, that I hear, right? In what you shared, there's a solution here because you have a way of using, whether it's Jesus or other world religions, or the models that these structures give us to become a fully integrated human, which is really needed. Like we talked about the beginning of today, people feel effed up, man. However we need to get there
True.
to truth, to wholeness, to balance, to integration, to a more evolved version of what humans can be to each other and with each other. So yeah, we all have the masculine and feminine within us. Exactly, Pauline. So I'm feeling very tingly. Lacey's leading a movement around, understanding narcolepsy and the superpower that it is and supporting people, whether they're experiencing or in a relationship with someone. Pauline, you're going to have us not like kill ourselves to be entrepreneurs and actually feel love. And Richard, you're going to bring us into more integration. Like these are powerful. And just hearing those drips of stories. I just wanted us to pause for a minute so we start to feel the collective energy here building and what you're each doing and how this is all about serving humanity, right? That is my move right now. What is going to promote human flourishing in this time, right? That's what my new book is so dedicated to with all of you. We're in a movement together, and then we have our individual expressions of it. So thank you so much, all three of you, for sharing. It was very powerful for me. Okay. And I'm sure for all of us. All right. So what we want to do now is your homework between tonight and tomorrow is going to be to really feel like you've narrowed down, like Richard's talking about, a succinct, like, here's what my book's about, your who it's for, and even a basic outline. Just even, if you like the SSS, it's like I'm going to use, story, situation, solution. And so I'm going to show you now a technique that's going to have the book start to feel like it's writing itself. Okay? It doesn't really write itself, right? We're not letting ChatGPT write the book, but it's going to help move you very far along in that direction. And so that's what we're going to go into in a minute. But I just want to see H for homework for those of you that are willing to say, I'm going to give this some time. I know we're on for a long time. Those of you coming to VIP, I'm going to help you customize your outline. I'm going to help you do this with me. You can ask very specific questions and we'll work on your books together, okay, in that hour after the main session. But I want everyone, okay, good. I love this. We have action takers in here. All right, Amy and Michelle and I get excited. We want your action takers, all right? So you're going to ideally, come tomorrow feeling like, yeah, Dr. Robin, we can put it in, and actually we'll put it in the replay too, the email. Okay. So what you're going to do is say, here's my statement, what my book's about, the reader it's for, and then you're going to put you're going to have your, even a very, very simple SSS outline with some ideas. Okay. You're just going to at least get that started so that you feel like your book is moving. Now, those of you that have an almost finished or a finished book and you feel like you got affirmed through that first part, right? We're going to support you in finishing it. Or if it's already finished, then like how, again, to have it lead the movement. All right. So, oh, I just had an idea of something I want to do. And it's 11:11 in Chicago. We always love that, those special numbers. So in Central Time, it's 11:11. I know a lot of you can't be on camera right now, but I'm so wanting everyone to be able to speak their movement to another person. Like we're gonna try to be on camera tomorrow, and we're gonna have everyone declare their movement in a little breakout room. Okay. So you'll be able to just be thinking about that. My movement is. Yeah, Pauline, as we go through, we've been able to put the only ones we've done so far in there. So yeah, and if you guys are in VIP, you'll get them in the workbook too. Okay. So here we go. I want to teach you now a technique that I call the story bank. All right. This was another thing that had me really struggle from figuring out like how to get momentum and how to keep consistent. We're going to talk about time tomorrow. So if you have time gremlins, meaning you don't have time or you have time and you don't use it for writing, we're going to work on that a lot tomorrow. But I want to show you a technique right now that has just been extremely powerful. And those of you that have, trained with us and coached with us, you use this and know this one. All right. So let me get back to where you can see it. Okay, just give me a thumbs up if a big orange screen showed up and you can see how to get the book to start writing itself. Thank you, Pauline. Okay, great. So here we go. All right, so this is called the story bank. So sometimes what happens is it's very intimidating to sit down to a new Google Doc or a Word doc or even a notebook and just start writing our book. Has anyone run into that? Those of you that have already started, like, does anyone feel that that's been challenging for you to just, like, just kind of you see this blank screen or this blank page and it's just like, what am I supposed to do? Right. So, what I like to do is back up a step before I go to start crafting the book material. I do what's called a story bank. So, I keep this on my phone. You could keep it in a notebook, you could keep it in a journal, you could keep it in a digital file of some kind. And what you're going to do is you're going to start to just capture things you know are going to go in the book. You could do this on note cards, you can do it any kind of way. But the point is, there are things that you already know are going to be in your book. You're like, I'm going to write about the time that I was in, hiking Kilimanjaro, or I'm going to write about the time that my teacher shamed me in front of the whole class. I'm going to write about this breakup, that whatever it is, right? So there are things you already know, specific stories, maybe case studies if you work with clients that you know you'd want to include. There might be specific, your framework, if you have a framework. You might have something like quotes that you know you're going to put at the top of a chapter. There are all kinds of things that you already know. And you can use the Oprah quote, what I know for sure is, okay? You can use that prompt. What I know for sure is going to go in this book is, and you're just going to make a little entry. If I was writing a book about writing books, which I have, I would say, finding the book in the airport bookstore that saved my life. That's what the entry in my story bank would be, right? Or in the download book, I knew I was going to write about the MIT study. So you can put studies in there. I was going to write about the MIT study that showed what happens in our brain when we are trying to be creative with AI versus we're being creative on our own, right? And actually talk about the brain scan differences and the impact, right? So I knew that was going to include that study in the book. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want everybody to just take a few minutes and we're just going to story bank, right? What does that mean? You're just going to start writing down. You can write them on index cards, Post-its, in a journal, or on your a notes file on your phone, whatever you want. You can dictate it. You can have AI keep track of your story bank if you want. I don't personally, I just keep it on a notes file on my phone, but you can do however you want. But I want you to start generating ideas that you know are going to go in this book. Okay? And those of you that have finished your book, I want you to start generating things that are going to be in your marketing messaging. Okay. You can story bank for your marketing, ways you're going to talk about the book. Okay. So everyone's going to participate in this. I'm going to check in with you in about 5 minutes. And Andrea, if you're doing VIP, you'll get an email to your inbox with the link. We're on a different Zoom link. It'll happen right after this main session. You just have to register and then you'll get the Zoom link. Okay. Awesome. All right, everybody, let's try it. 5 minutes. Okay, how's everybody doing? Just put a word in the chat if you are, just put G for generate. You're generating ideas. The story bank is just a little snippet. You're not writing out a whole section of anything. You're just coming up with the things you know for sure are going to go in your book. And then if you're a super achiever, like I know many of you are, and you're using the SSS structure, you could even label those digitally or however you're keeping your story bank. It's like, oh, this is going to go in S1, kind of my origin story. Oh, this is really part of the solution chapter where I'm going to talk about this. Oh, this is going to go in the situation because it's a study or statistic. You may not be using that SSS structure, right? That's okay. But you could start to even categorize, like Lacey said, she's feeling like her book is kind of coming together, and she's got more clarity on what's going where. Okay, so this could be broad stroke. There's just like stuff is going in this book, and it could be all the way down to very specifically where it's going to go if you happen to know. Okay, so you don't have to categorize as you story bank, but you could. And what's exciting about this is who feels like you have more to build on than you thought you did when you got on Zoom this morning? Or some of you are in Europe, so later today. So who feels like, yeah, I've got more clarity on what's going in this book, and I do have a lot of material to build on, and there's a lot of things. So now what's so cool is we don't then just feel like we're coming to the page like blank. The goal that I always have when I teach writing, when I write myself, is to take away the blank page, to completely remiss. Yeah, Janet, I know you had to step out, so you'll just watch the replay later and then you can catch back up on everything. We got you. We'll send that out to you today and then you can catch back up before tomorrow. All right. So the you have more material than you think you have. You know more of what goes in this book than maybe you perceived before. And this is the kind of thing that you can now be doing while you're walking around, because we opened up this query, this inquiry, right? This is back to the brain science. When we open up a loop in our brain, it's going to want to like close the loop, which means what else goes in this book? So you're going to be brushing your teeth or washing the dishes or walking the dog or driving to get groceries, and you're thinking, oh yeah, that's got to go in the book. Or, oh, something happens to in real time. It's like, well, this is going in my book, right? You're going to start to keep thinking of those things. And I want you to keep banking. So I want to hear bank in the chat, right? Like I want to hear bank in the chat if you are committed to doing this today, as like between even now and when we're together tomorrow. You're gonna keep an ongoing story bank. I keep it all throughout the writing process because I'm thinking of new things or something comes across my radar. Yeah, and Michelle and team, if you could reply to Jennifer, who signed up for a VIP and is looking for the Zoom link, I think. And the workbook will come later, Jennifer. Yeah, we'll send that out to you in VIP later. Yep. Okay. So so the story bank is your friend because you're not going to have the blank page anymore. Who feels like it's different to think about you just open up a blank screen and you're supposed to start writing your book, than it feels to go to your story bank and say, oh, I could write today about that moment that happened here that I remember very clearly, and I could just write up that section. Yeah, some of you have too long of a story bank. Well, then it becomes part of the editing process, Sandy. I hear you. God, do I hear you? I did so much research for the book I just finished writing, and it was like oh man, there were some days I felt lost in the swamp of all of those ideas and stories, right? So then that's why you're going to use then your structure, which goes, if you're using SSS or another type of structure. My book I just finished had a part 1, 2, 3, a little bit different order than SSS. And then it's deciding what goes in, what goes out. And the way we discern what goes in and what goes out is by thinking back to the doors we want the book to open and the journey we want to take the reader on. Because sometimes it's like, oh, I want to write about that experience I had. Then we really have to think, is this reader that I'm taking on this journey, that I'm creating this movement for, this transformation for, do they need this? If they do, it goes in. If they don't, It could be a fun Substack article. It could be a social media post. You have all kinds of other things you could do with. Faulkner called them his darlings. He's like, I don't want to kill my darlings. He said, we must kill our darlings. So gross, right? That's a not nice term at all. We're not going to like, necessarily use his terminology. But he was talking about we have these things. And the beautiful thing is we're in a world that needs constant content. So you can use those things that don't belong in there in other ways. So who feels like you're getting something from this exercise? Like you understand, like, oh, this is going to help me not face the blank page. I'm going to have real things I know go in my book, and I can start generating pieces of this book without feeling necessarily overwhelmed about the whole big picture. Yeah. And then if you feel like Sandy and it's like, well, I've got lots of story banks, but where does it all go? Then you're going to really work that outline muscle and decide, what goes in, what comes out. And you're going to put it through the lens of the doors you want your book to open and the transformation you want your book to provide. And a really cool prompt, this is not something I normally teach. It's not in like the workbook or anything, but I say to myself, what do I want this reader to know or to think? So first it's, what do I want them to think? What do I want them to feel? And what do I want them to do in order to have the transformation I feel called to share? Think, feel, do. And that can really help us with, does this belong in my book or not? Right? I want them to think, I can do this. There's a solution. I want them to feel empowered and inspired. What I want them to do, whatever your movement is. Okay, so it sounds like some of you felt like this, you've got something going here, and part of your homework today is going to be to do some story banking. Right? Want everyone to come at least one entry in that story bank, one deposit in the story bank, before tomorrow. Okay. And if you're still confused, again, those of you doing VIP, we'll work on this. We can get like some really specific stuff generated. Yeah. Pauline, you imagine that you are the book and you have something to tell. Beautiful. Okay. So really, really good job. All right. So we're going to do, what? I'm going to ask Carol. Carol Look is here. Carol took this exact training. I'm going to bring Carol up with me in a minute. Carol wrote 2 books using exactly the 90-day bestseller process, wrote both books in under 90 days, has 2 bestsellers, is leading a movement as an EFT master teacher, and just absolute brilliant guide around success breakthroughs, around mindset, around so many things. I know some of you are like, I love Carol. All right, so Carol, let's talk about this. Everyone's having to get into the grind of this. I'm gonna have you come say hello with me. Just give me 1 second to bring you up. And then I want to get your thoughts on where we are in the process, because you've been here twice. So give me 1 second. There you are. Okay. And hi.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, Sarah.
So happy to see you. You guys can see Carol's books. Yes Code was the first one. The Yes Code is a series of 3. 2 are already done. Yes, thank you. And Carol, you did this training. You followed you're a great student, right? You followed the whole process, wrote the first book in 90 days. First, let's talk about just how did it feel when you were at the beginning? Because that's where some people are right now. They're just in the like, oh God, what's in my story bank and what's my outline and all that.
It felt overwhelming, like how do I get this done? How am I going to get this big thing done? Story banking was my favorite, by the way, everybody. I'd never heard of that before. The big warning problem, 3 o'clock in the morning, suddenly a little story comes, suddenly something happens. But I do recommend what you were saying, like this goes in S1, this goes in S2, this goes in S3, because I had pieces of paper. I don't story bank in my phone. I had pieces of paper with scribbles on them all over. I'm still finding them. So
yes.
I would recommend, first of all, I think it's the greatest tool, story banking. And then what I just heard you say was, does this story help the reader? My sweet editor said, very lovely to some things, very lovely story, but what's the point? Like, how does this fit in with what do you want your reader to think, feel, and do? It's like, yeah, but I want to tell that story. That's lovely. Do it someplace else, because it doesn't belong in this book about this topic. It's that wasn't easy, but anyway, I'm
It's
answering
it's
many
not
questions.
easy. It's and
Yeah.
I want to talk about the physical papers that you did because this whole method, the reason I created story banking comes out of, I'm trained as both a fiction and nonfiction writer, right? And in my graduate training, and girl, we did note cards. So anyone that's been around the writing world for a long time, this was how novelists often would develop their novels on note cards, and you'd write like the scene and then you can move the scenes around, and it's like a serial killer board in your house, and you've got like threads going between the different things. And so it's a time honored tradition to do them physically, or digitally, right? So Carol, let's talk about what happened. So you came in here, you did this workshop. You said, I'm doing the first book. You wrote it in 90 days, which is so phenomenal. You were writing about, you have incredible expertise. You've been working in the field, as, a therapist and coach, and really, a leader in the space of success breakthroughs and success psychology. And so like, let's talk about what you wanted. What were the doors you wanted the books to open?
That's interesting. So the first door was with the people. So I don't kind of care about the numbers and what it's doing and all that, which I know we're supposed to, but I wanted people to feel hopeful because I'm my first guinea pig. So I'm all over the book about all the things, all the different things I did to procrastinate and self-sabotage and you name it, I'm it. Right. And then I tell stories about my clients. I wanted people to say there's a way out. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this isn't just another self-help. Like, oh, there's a way out to do this. That's what I really cared, but it did open doors. Remember, I got that speech at the ASEF conference and was an invited speaker, and it's opened doors. People have run into me and said, oh, you're the one that wrote that book. And it's opened for me. I love having the book. I can say now, go to this book. I can say it's all in there. I don't have to do the whole spiel again. Both books have. So it has opened those doors, but my priority was people like all my clients and like me who are still struggling with whichever topic it was, either the gratitude stuff, or it was all about self-sabotage. And it's annoying and irritating and makes people feel ashamed. And I wanted that lifted because it can be lifted, but you have to do the work.
Yes, and I mean, Carol, of course, I've been a client of yours and tapped with you, and it's not like anybody else does it. And that's why your book is so important, because other people say, "Oh, I've tried EFT or I've tried tapping," but they haven't experienced your way that is next level and otherworldly and all of the things. And so now they have the book, right? They can go there first. Do you find some people have read the book and then want to do more with you? I mean, that is like one of the things that so many people here hope that we talked about. People don't trust ads for good reason. They don't trust stuff on social media because it's so, fake and concocted. But in a book, people have a chance to know so much more deeply that you're the real deal.
Yes, so they've joined all sorts of things. So either private clients or joined the groups or followed me more, on workshops or whatever. And there is something about the book that's telling the story that feels really real, rather than, again, therapists are a dime a dozen. Right. EFT practitioners now there are plenty of them, right? So how do you bridge that from making it really, making them really be able to feel you and feel what makes you different? Why do you stand out? Because there are a zillion people for everybody's book. Right. We don't have to go into any scarcity around this, but people know. They say, I've been watching you for a while. No, I'm not watching. That sounded. I've been following you for a while, and your book came, and now I'm ready to work with you. That's what I get.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's that we talked about whether it's in your case it is earned, but in society, whether it's proper or not, when we know someone wrote the book on something, we ascribe expertise, credibility, authority, leadership. Carol, you were like, I'm not doing a crazy. You've been invited on a lot of podcasts. You did not want to do a big in-person book tour and run all around. You were like, I'm getting online and I'm going to invite people. How many people registered for the first book for your launch?
1,600.
1,600, everyone. I want you to just hear the impact. Had you had that many come on something before that you did virtually?
No.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
it was from my list. I'm an anti-Facebook girl. So
right. You're like, I don't want to be on social media. I don't want to do anything. I want to be on. So you invited people to come to this, 1,600 people register. And then in that first program you do, because Carol does these incredible series where people can come and do a certain number of weeks in a row, tapping live, have success breakthroughs, get out of this self-sabotage. And then how many people like enrolled in that?
I think it was between 250 and 300.
Okay, so everyone, I just want you to see like real, I can tell you my things, but I want you to hear from Carol, who came in, did this, wrote it. You weren't like, in the book world. That's not your main thing. You're serving people. And the impact level, exponential. Now, we talk about write, speak, scale. So you wrote the book. You were previously at ASAP, and that's a national conference, everybody in Carol's field. Then you got paid to be a speaker, right? So speak on podcasts. And can you tell everyone the new project that I'm very excited you're doing? Because I want everyone to get how the ecosystem gets created, right?
Yes. So the new project is finally doing YouTube videos with two tapping sequences, all under 8 minutes. It's all really short. People have no attention span, as I'm sure you've talked about. And it's just really fun because people are really grateful. And, oh, I can do that. I can do 7 minutes. I can do this.
Right.
And I can tell that I'm getting new people in the last year since the second book. Also, I can tell I'm getting new people. New people were on my series in January. That's from the book. I'm not doing any advertising. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. New people are coming into my universe. I can't actually tell where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Because I'm not tracking it, but there are new names, the last series I did, people from 30 different countries. Now, I'm not in those countries, right? I don't know what's going on, but something's going on, and it is the wave effect of, now I have a book, now I get to say that, now I'm on a podcast, now I'm doing so. I can feel it, and I have a memory for people's email addresses. So
yes, you're like, I don't know that name. So you launched the YouTube channel because you established the credibility and authority of the book. You're speaking at conferences and on podcasts. And then, you didn't want to do Facebook, but YouTube, you really wanted to make an impact. So people like the book could come in 7-8 minutes and tap. I now tap every day because of learning from you. And so can we celebrate? People are asking, where can we get your YouTube channel? So please do share that with everybody so you can follow Carol and get some tapping for sure. And Pauline, I'll be talking about Substack in the VIP room too, if you're there, for sure, because that's a whole nother way that can integrate. But Carol, we need your YouTube channel. And how many subscribe? You just started it, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks? Tell us what the time frame is.
I'm writing it in there. It should be right. At Carol Looks Success. It's called Success Tapping. So I have 825 subscribers, but I put one out this morning, so I might get more. As I say, I don't know where they're coming from. People float in, but now, now I'm there. So it's growing. So I'm up to 825, which is wonderful.
I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited because you wanted to do this. You can't, and you did the work, right? Again, Carol came in, joined 90-day bestseller, like our thought leader program around that, worked with our editor, got the books done, and now the doors get to open. And you wanted to be on there. We need you on there tapping. No more, I won't say the names, but I went on early on before I met you trying to find tapping and heard of it. And I so wish to God your channel had been there. But I'm so glad it is now.
Thank you.
Oh, Terry says it's 826 subscribers now. I just subscribed. Okay, amazing. All right, everyone. So here's how the ecosystem. So Carol, thank you. I know you have a very full day. You have a lot of people to see. Can we all give Carol so much love? And I want to hear in the chat, what did you hear from what Carol has created that you would like to create? I want you to see some living examples. So is it, I want 1,600 people coming to an online event that I do. I want to have a series that people come into after having read the book. I want a YouTube channel that's growing every day. So just put in the chat for everybody, what did you hear in Carol's experience about the ecosystem and movement you want to create? And Pauline's asking, did writing your book help you know what your YouTube voice would be? Do you feel like, because you wrote the book first, did it help you with what you're doing on there?
Yeah, because I have been in the addictions field, I have been in the success field, I've been in the pain control field with EFT. So I just know the success tapping, that's what I want to do, and the getting over the sabotage. So in a way it did, but remember, I've been around for a while, so I'm not new to all of the voice. What do I want to project? Right. What do I want to give? But yeah, it did. It did. Both of the books did.
I love that so much. And you're asking, Catherine is saying, I want to scale like Carol did organically without social media. Yeah, you can. That's the thing, is you can make a choice. You can all make a choice. And it's about committing. We talked about decisions determine our destiny. It's committing to, I'm going to put my flag in the ground with the book, and then I'm going to find the authentic, aligned, values-aligned ways that I want to find people. So Carol, you do that through your newsletter. You do that through YouTube. Now you do that through the books. And you do it through speaking, because you're killer on podcasts. Carol ends up like tapping the host, having to do a breakthrough, and they end up hiring her. It's so great. So thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for making time. And we're so excited to follow you on YouTube.
Thank you, Sarah. And I'm so happy for all of you to be in this training. It changed my life 2 years ago. Changed
So
my life.
excited, Carol. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Yes, thank you guys. Okay, so what we're going to do now, as we get ready to conclude soon the main session, if you want to follow Carol, just we'll put the link. Michelle, can you put the link to Carol's books in the chat as well? And then Deborah, that's what you want to do first: book, then speaking, podcast, series, and audio. Right? Remember, our model here is write, speak, scale. So those of you that are going to continue on with us and you want our team to help you, like we did for Carol, put all the pieces together to build the ecosystem. That's exactly right. Some people come in, they're already speaking. It doesn't have to go in that order, but we want to have the triple threat. Okay, so triple threat, right? You want to have your write, speak, scale, scaling impact. Some of you don't care about the revenue because that's not important to you at this stage of life. Some of you care very much, and you're a parent like me who supports their family, and it's important to have both, right? It could be any number of things. Okay, so really good stuff. All right, what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna have everyone just think about, if you were finishing the sentence, you said, my name is. So I'm looking at Rosemary. If Rosemary said, hi, my name is Rosemary, and the movement I'm here to lead is. Okay, Rosemary, if I put you completely on the spot, which I am, could you just share that? It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be polished. It doesn't have to be ready for, the Oscars. But could you tell us, I'm Rosemary and my movement is? Oh, you have to unmute though. Sorry. Yeah.
I'm Rosemary, and my movement is that we are living a multidimensional life in a 3D Earth, and there are ways to master that.
Woo! Okay. I love it. 5D, multi-D. That is awesome. Thank you, Rosemary. And that was very brave because I certainly did not ask at all if you were open to that, but that is very exciting. Okay. So I'm going to put everyone in just a pair. If you end up in a room and there's no one with you, come back and you're just going to say it here. Okay. And then I promise a few of you have just DM'd me and asked for more information on applying for a 90-day bestseller to do what we did with Carol and work with you and the team. And so I will share about that real quick when we get back, so you have that info. Okay, so let's just do this. If you can't come on camera, it's okay. If you can, just for this minute, to be honoring of your person, and then if you need to pop off, no worries at all. Michelle, can you just put the application one more time for people that need to go, because you all can get those in, because remember we have the 10 total spots for that. Okay, so let's go into breakout room. And again, if you get in a room and no one's with you, just come back, and you're going to make this really fast. It's super, super quick. You're going to say, my name is, and the movement I'm here to lead. One sentence. Okay. Just get something out of your mouth so that you can be seen and heard and witnessed. And then we're going to come back. If you get in a room with no one, you're just going to come back with me and say it to me. Okay. Here we go. Okay, Lauren, I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
All right, how do I have it? Hold on, I wrote it last week more succinctly than it's in my head right now.
Those of you who are here in the main, you can get ready. We'll go around and well, I'll give you a turn. Lauren's gonna read hers or speak hers.
I'm Lauren Most, founder of the From Least to Most movement. I help senior leaders move from fear to self-trust, so the way we lead becomes more grounded, human, and built to actually work.
Beautiful. Yes, you are. And that's what we're all going to say to our friends when they say their movement. Say, yes, you are. Thank you, Lauren. Dr. Robin.
It helps when I unmute, doesn't it?
Well,
Okay.
we do want to be heard. Exactly. Exactly.
Hi, my name is Robin Chapman, and I'm interested in helping people capture courage. And so I have a courage framework for people who have already been stopped from following their dreams.
Let's go. Yes, you are. Yes, Robin, thank you. How about Lisa?
Hello. Mine is a book about helping floxies. I was fluoroquinolone antibiotic damage, so it's to help floxies uh, realize that there are natural ways to bring their body back into homeostasis.
Lisa, I just learned more about this and so important. I met with a doctor who's going to do a book with us and she was telling me about, wow, thank you. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Did anyone else not get to speak your movement? Give me a wave. Yes, Sandy, let's hear it. You're like, no. Remember, this is just to be heard and witnessed, okay? So no pressure.
Right. Well, this is what I need help with. I can tell you the book title, if
Okay,
that gives
just
you a
say to
clue.
do that. Say I'm Sandy and I'm the author of the upcoming bestseller, and then tell us the book title.
Okay. I'm Sandy. I'm the co-author with my daughter of the upcoming bestseller, How Kids Work and How to Work with Them.
Woo!
It
Yes,
like
you
ends
are.
adversarial parenting.
Oh my God,
No more
please.
struggle.
Yes, Sandy. Oh, yes, Sandy. Please, please. I'm a parent. I think that's amazing. Okay, anybody else not get to speak your movement? Yeah, Lacey, let's hear it.
I'm Lacey, the unapologetic narcoleptic, and my movement is to help support people living with narcolepsy.
Woo! Yes, you are. Oh my God. And I'm loving Lacey, the new adjective. Okay.
That was you.
Unapologetic narcoleptic. We were working on that. That's another technique, everybody, that we do in 90 Day Bestseller about your way you identify yourself. That's awesome. Anybody else? Madeline, did you get to speak
Yes.
yours?
No, I didn't.
Do
Hi,
it.
I'm Madeline.
Hi.
I'm a therapist, and I'm talking about what therapy doesn't help with. So it's kind of controversial. Hi, I'm Madeline, and my movement is to discuss what happens after the session, what therapy does cover, and what it does not, and what helps.
Oh, yes. Yes, you are. And that is fire. I love this is so good. So good. Anybody else not get to speak your movement? All right. How did it feel? Let's do one word in the chat. How did it feel, those of you that spoke it either in the main session or in your breakout room? Just one word. How did it feel to just say your name, to speak what you're here to do on the planet right now? And it felt great. It felt shaky. Yeah, it can feel both. It can feel like we can have a vulnerability hangover sometimes when we do it. It's like, oh, the imposter syndrome gremlin comes up and jumps us in the back alley, like it's all welcome here. That's why we use CBS. Please unmute and share your movement. You didn't get to speak it. I want to hear. Oh, here, I'll help you. We can help you with that. Let's see. I'm going to give you an ask to unmute. See if it pops up for you.
There we go. Hello.
Hi.
Am I there?
You're there. We can hear you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Colleen Silvati, and my movement that I'm here to lead is female resiliency and empowerment through collaboration with other women.
Yes. And yes, you are. And woohoo. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And Janet, you didn't have a friend in your room. It happens sometimes on Zoom. So thank you, Colleen. And then Janet, if you want to unmute and share your movement.
Well, my movement is, it's personal. My movement is personal, and I know it's not endemic to me alone. It's just that when I was growing up, I was not being heard. And the fact that I was not being heard, it carried throughout my adulthood. And I would love to, break that cycle of allowing women to understand that they need to give their children a voice so that they can be heard and become productive adults, not questioning yourself as to whether or not you're right or wrong. So, I realized that based on the fact that I was not being heard, it followed me throughout all my time. And when I came across your conversation about having this forum, it excited me because I was so excited that one I got up with a title of a book in my head, and then I researched it, and then I realized that there was a book like that. And what the thought in my head was the loudness of silence. How
Janet.
loud does silence speak? Because it rips within your interior walls, and it does not allow you to really fulfill the person you ought to be, the person you came here to be. And I want to do that. I want to fulfill the person that I came here to be, and I want to empower not just women, but to empower women to empower their own children so they have a voice, and not to have a voice that is being uh, mustered into silence.
Janet, we are feeling it. Who's feeling it with Janet? And just say yes. And you're here, you're speaking, you're being heard. And again, I'm a parent, so this is so important and so poignant. Those of us that are direct parents or have nieces and nephews and other young people in our communities, thank you. Thank you for leading this movement. Yes, beautiful. And other people in the chat, if you can read the chat, they're saying what she said, the loudness of silence. All right. Can we feel this, everybody? Let's give each other some love, whether you had a partner in your room or you shared here in the main room. Way to go. All right. Way to go. Because you are called. You are not here by accident, right? When the big magic has struck and said, I need you to lead this movement, you're answering a call. So this is super, super powerful. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to review the homework. I'm going to do 5 minutes on, for those of you that DM'd me during the session today and asked, a little more about 90-day bestseller. If you want to continue on after this workshop and work with our team like Carol did, have our editors edit your book, all the things. Let me just show you that for a few minutes. And then those of you coming over to the VIP room, we're going to deep dive into coaching and customize. Like we said, was it Sandy's like, yeah, my issue is how do I describe the movement? Or, Richard, how like how do I kind of corral this all right? We're going to do that work together over the next hour. Okay. It's a different Zoom link. So you'll look in your email. And then if you have any issues, team, if you would let everybody know if they signed up for VIP and they can't find that link, how to reach you and get it. Okay. So let me just show you this really quickly, because I know, again, some of us are a little easier to see versus here. And I know there's 750 more of us doing the workshop this week asynchronistically so that everybody has it. Okay, this is just to let you know. So the 90-day bestseller is after you do this workshop, you are eligible to apply to work with our team to take your book from all the things we're going to do today and tomorrow to having your finished manuscript in your hand. The point is exactly what it says. We're going to work with you to write your book, build your legacy in 90 days. It is accordion style. If you need more time than 90 days, like I did for my most recent book, you can. We just can do it in as short as the 90 days. Okay. So everyone gets to work one-on-one, like Carol said, with a member of our editorial team. This is you have a professional coach who is also a book editor, and you will have one-on-one sessions with your book editor. And then between those sessions, they will professionally edit your book so that you're having a professionally edited book, which we all need. There's no book that's ever been published that we've purchased that didn't get edited. So you're going to have your editor, but who's also trained as a coach to support you on an emotional level, on an energetic level, all the things, right? And then we have a accompanying course if you are someone that likes to have that reinforcement that just walks you through the whole process over the 12 weeks, right? So you have your one-on-one editor and your coach who's guiding you through step-by-step reading and editing every word. And then you have the course to go with it if that feels supportive in between. And then we have, thanks to Amy Fortney, so if we can all give Amy some love, Amy has developed it's a brain science-based tracker to help take you tomorrow. I'll teach you how to find the time to write, and it tells you what to write every single day, so you don't have to feel overwhelmed about all these different pages. It's like, it's Wednesday, I'm writing 3 pages. Yay, I did it. My book's on track to finish when you want to track. So really powerful. We build in all the neuroscience accountability things with that, and you'll have access to that too. And then you can bundle that with a year of support to help you get the ROI on your book, right? So you're not just like writing the book and then being like, what do I do now? This is what helps you continue to make daily sales and open those doors of opportunity, not just in your launch, but for years and years and years to come. Okay. We want your book making consistent sales and opening the doors of opportunity. If you don't care about sales, but you care about impact, this is where we're doing that in the Monetize Your Book Club, right? So if you're a one-on-one coach and editor, and then you have the club to work with me and all the strategies to help you lead the movement and get the ROI on your book. All right. And so the special thing, and we didn't have this when Carol was doing it with us, but we have it for you all just right now that are going to be wanting to join us in our start right now in the spring in May. We're going to take our system like we always do. We've coached over 500 bestsellers in the past 5 years. 100% of people that follow every step with us finish, publish, and hit the bestseller list on Amazon or above with their book. So you have a proven process. That's what we've always had. And normally that's been 15,000. I think Carol's like 16.5. But we're doing something special right now because you guys are here doing this workshop in 2026. So you'd have access to the entire 90-day bestseller and the year in the Monetize Your Book Club to get the ROI on your book for 7,000. Okay. If you already have a book, you just can do the Monetize Your Book Club on its own. Otherwise, you might want to pair those two together, and you guys get to do that really, for a very special, it's like half, a little less than half. And we're also going to give the Abundance Accelerator because I am currently working on generating funding for getting my entire book tour sponsored and all the things involved in that. And you may have desires around, well, 7,000 is not 15, but it's still a big investment. And so we will give you the step-by-step to start actually generating income immediately, not once your book is out, right? That's really important to a lot of the people we serve. And I'm working on it right now. So you'll have our whole Abundance Accelerator system. And because we're about Write, Speak, Scale, we're going to give the how to get booked and paid to speak training that, again, normally people are paying us thousands of dollars for each of these things, in addition to the 15,000 for their book. And then we'll also, if you want to do what Carol did, give you the playbook for going from 0 to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. So you might want to use these things, you might not, but we wanted to give you a movement leader catalyst so you can write, speak, scale both your visibility, like on YouTube. You can speak on stages or podcasts, and then you can also scale your revenue with the Abundance Accelerator. So just wanted to let you know that is what's special for this time. That's not just ongoing. It's like right now with those special bonuses. And if you're interested even potentially, then in doing this, you can just fill out the application. Okay, there's no obligation. You could just fill out the application to say, I'm thinking this might be calling to me. It's right there in the chat. We will, it'll do it in under 2 minutes, and go ahead and just fill that out. And then we will contact you this evening. And so you'll know kind of next steps and everything, because we can 10 people who are like, I'm going to do this year, right? You just feel it's your time. It's just, you've reached that point when you know it's your time. Okay. So just go ahead and fill your application out. Those of you coming to the VIP room, we're going to head over there in just 1 minute. And those of you that are joining us there, great, we'll continue the party. Those of you joining us tomorrow, back at 10 a.m. Eastern time, tomorrow we're going to be focusing on the craft, like how to make the writing itself from your story bank, good, right? To make it riveting, have people keep turning pages. We're going to focus on how to find the time to write. And then we're going to focus on the revenue generating ideas. Yeah. And that's cool. If you can't make the VIP, just, you know what to do, Terry and everybody else. You're gonna do your thing. You're gonna work on your story banking. Otherwise, we're gonna dive into some immersive coaching together for the next hour. But everybody just grab the application link and just fill it out on your way to the VIP room or on your way out of the workshop if this is calling to you and speaking to you, that you're just feeling something that's like, it's my time. Okay. All right. You guys did amazing today. Rosemary, I loved it. I love that you were so brave. I was like, that's pretty mean of me to just pick you out of nowhere, but I am so inspired. I loved hearing it. And we're going to all go be multidimensional today together. All right. So if you're heading to VIP, grab the link from your email. I'll see you in about 1 minute, and everybody else tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you there. Great job.